Welcome back to the Football Terrace. It is the first of our legacy debates this evening. We are going to be creating over the course of this season our very own Legends and Hall of Famer tiering list. You can see there, you can go into the Hall of Fame Legends, top 20, a future Hall of Famer, overrated or underrated. We'll be adding players to this list over the course of this campaign, having these debates. At the same time, we will be focusing upon individual players. Tonight, we are looking at who has the best legacy in the English game between Mohamed Salah and Eden Hazard. I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. I want your opinions. We've got an amazing, amazing panel tonight that's going to be joining us for this debate. We've got a poll running right now in the live chat as well, which Eden Hazard is currently winning with 64%. Liverpool fans or supporters tonight of Mo Salah, get yourselves out there. Get your friends, get your family, get people involved. Get them to come here and vote and get them to smash that like button as well. When it comes to the tiering system, normal service resumes. If you want to move a player that we place up or down, any section, 5s, 20s, and 50s count as always. Rapstar, if you're watching, you do have, Rapstar has £90 in the bank to use wherever he wants tonight. Wherever he wants tonight, that can be done. I'm going to introduce you to the panel, though, now to have their say tonight. We've got a Man United fan on here to add a little bit of balance to things tonight. Man like Usman is here in the house doing his thing. We've got one of the most, not outrageous, one of the most outspoken, I would say, Liverpool fans on social media at the moment. It's the Don himself. Hussam is here with us, having his say. Mr. Moustache is also back tonight. Man like Ziad in the blue room there, doing his thing as it stands right now. Now, listen, mate, every time you come on with that moustache, we've got to mention it. We have to. That moustache is legendary. This man wishes he could grow a moustache. I caught him earlier on trying to draw one on with a pen. It's Tom Little in the house tonight, having his say. And we're also joined tonight by the man, the myth, the legend, that is Darren here. Darren is here in the house with us tonight. You all know who Darren is. Busy across the spaces on social media right now. And he went to university with our very own Elite KJ. I believe it was university. I think it was university there. We've had a super chat already. Hazard, legend, love the show. So that is £20 already to put Hazard in the legend space. And we'll put that in the bank and we'll save it to later on in the show. Thank you for the donation to the Terrace. But gentlemen, good evening. How are we all doing right now? We all good?
Yeah, yes. Excited for the debate, excited to rustle a couple of Liverpool fans' feathers in it, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting as well. It's gonna be interesting as well. Big up the Football Terrace. Terry thinks he's a comedian. I am probably one of the most Kevin Hart step aside. Terry Flewers is. I'm funnier than Kevin Hart. I am. I know I am. My mum told me I was. So must be true, bruv. Must be true. That sarcasm will be lost on some people. By the way, iTest has been sent the link. Louis from Give Me a Sport has been sent the link. Igao has been sent the link. They haven't arrived. Daps is here. We'll be getting him on very, very soon to have his say tonight as well. But we do want your views. Have Hope's been invited? I haven't heard back from him. He's probably busy doing his own thing. But we've got some great people on tonight to be having their say. But before we go into these players, we are going to start by talking about Marcus Rashford and Christian Pulisic. So I'm going to go to Usman straight away on this. And the debate between these two is Christian Pulisic or Marcus Rashford. Who do you think is going to end up with the better legacy in the English game?
I mean, for me personally, look, obviously I'm a Man United fan, but it's not even the Man United bias. I think Rashford has already shown levels above Pulisic. Pulisic, to be fair to him, he's done well at Dortmund in moments, but we're talking strictly Premier League here. Obviously, the English history. I think for me, Rashford's done it time and time again in the big moments. You've seen against PSG, he's got PSG's number. I think Rashford has, he's kind of carried Man United on his back for the last couple of seasons. I know Bruno's come in and taken that mantle off him to an extent, but this is a young lad, 23 years of age, bagged 20 goals back to back, suffering a lot of injuries on his way. He's got the mentality to keep going through the pain barrier. And I think for me personally, ability-wise alone, I think Rashford has shown more for me as it currently stands. Pulisic's top bowler. He had a very good first season at Chelsea, but since the injuries, he hasn't really recovered of late. I'm sure Chelsea fans would probably agree. I mean, I know a lot of Chelsea fans are wanting him sold last season. But yeah, we've just not seen that same Pulisic that kind of first burst onto scene in the Chelsea kit. But yeah, for me, Rashford, without a doubt, 20 goals back to back at that age is absolute levels, and you got to respect the consistency as well.
I hear you on that. Anyone making an argument for Pulisic? Does anybody think that Pulisic can actually, keep winning at Chelsea and put himself into a position to surpass what Marcus Rashford achieves in the game?
I mean, he's got to become a starter for that to happen at the bare minimum, and he doesn't look like he's going to do that at the minute. His injuries keep hampering him, so whenever he seems like he's finally going to take that next step, really get a good run of form, something happens, and he's gone for the next couple of weeks, and someone steps in, and he can't get that position back for a while. He's obviously a good player, but Marcus Rashford has done more as of now. He's going to do more in the future for me. I just think he's got a better legacy. I just don't think there's any way, with the way Chelsea's set up now, for Pulisic to properly break in there and surpass what Rashford has done and probably will do in the future.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Tom, because my issue with Pulisic is he's a great football player, but he's very, very inconsistent. And of course, injuries play a massive part. But for me, it's more about moments for Pulisic. He's great in the Champions League quarterfinal against Porto. He's great against Real Madrid, but then he dips, and then he gets injured, which doesn't help, which never helps. But the only thing is, if he can build up more game time and stop getting injured, which I know he doesn't control, but try to get fitter and sharper, so he can prevent the injuries. So then he can get run of play and show the player he is. The player we saw in the after lockdown. He's already got a Champions League to his name. He's in a great Chelsea squad that could possibly win the Premier League. If he can get a run of games and play well for a season and a half, and have trophies behind him, it can only help him. And Rashford, I completely rate. He's a top player, and he's been in the Premier League for a very long time now. And I don't think we've seen something too crazy from him. Like, he's had a good season. Last season, if I'm not mistaken, he had a very good season, but I haven't seen something amazing and also consistent from him for someone that's been in the Premier League for a very long time and not many trophies behind him. So I think that's where Pulisic has got the advantage.
I hear you on that. How about yourself, Hussam? Obviously, you're a Liverpool fan, so no love lost when it comes to either of these players. Like, which of the two do you think is actually going to go out there and achieve the most in the English game in their careers?
I think the thing is, with this conversation right now, I think Rashford probably is ahead of Pulisic in terms of legacy, what he's accomplished in the game, etc., even off the pitch. The thing is with Pulisic, the problem with him, like there's a problem with Pulisic, and that's his injury record. Even from his time at Dortmund, he's just been like a very injury-prone player. The thing is with Pulisic is basically a bad version of Daniel Sturridge, because the difference to me when I look at both players, both of them, listen 1 second, bro, I'm explaining to you. Both of them have horrible injury records. The difference is, and I've had Chelsea fans who have actually agreed with what I'm about to say, when Pulisic comes back and even plays, he doesn't even perform at the level that's required. So Pulisic could go like for example, he's just came back from injury. He's about to play 10 games. In those 10 games, he's going to have 6 good games and 4 bad ones. So when I say a bad version of Daniel Sturridge had a horrendous injury record, absolutely horrendous. But then when he comes back, he still scored goals. He still influenced the game. With Pulisic, we've seen him. We've actually seen him not perform well at all in games. So Rashford, in my opinion, is a level above as a footballer in terms of legacy, in terms of everything. And the injury record, if injuries stop, then we're going to see a full season of Pulisic. But what Tom without a mustache says, is that we're going to have to see if he even gets into the starting 11. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, I do hear you on that. We're joined by Louis as well now from Give Me Sport in the house. I want to ask Daps about these two players. Obviously, Marcus Rashford, of course, plays for your biggest rivals. Like, I see a lot of Chelsea fans. I even saw it on the socials. The reason I put this one into the debate today as a bit of a warm-up for us is I saw a lot of people today, a lot of Chelsea fans talk about how his legacy is already better than Marcus Rashford because of the Champions League and everything else. Like, what do you say to that?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Look, for me, Chelsea fans, I'm going to Stamford Bridge on Saturday, so they're going to kill me for this, but they overhype their players so badly. And Pulisic is just another example. Like he came here, and all right, before he came here, okay, but he had one okay season. It wasn't unreal. And then last season was poor. He's overhyped. If we were doing the tier system, I'd be putting him in overhyped, to be frank with you. Now, Rashford, I'm not going to say, I'd be a bit surprised if Rashford is in a conversation around Hall of Fame as well, to be honest. And on the pitch, cool. Off the pitch, cool. On the pitch, a lot better than Pulisic, but still not Hall of Fame. But I do also think last season, it didn't help that his manager was playing him through way too many injuries. And that probably hindered him slightly. But Pulisic needs to go in the bin. I'm sorry, I'm not having Pulisic anywhere near this conversation, to be honest with you.
I guess there's two separate conversations tonight. There's who's going to have the better legacy out of the two players is one.
Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, and then we have the tiering element, as we can see here. So when you look at this, and we'll mark this out in case anyone doesn't know, the top one is already a legend or someone that you think should be looked at as a Hall of Famer. Someone that you say is a top-class player that you would put towards the top 20 in the Prem. There's future Hall of Famer, overrated, underrated. There is a final category which isn't boxed, and that's just uncategorized. They're not getting placed, and they're not making it onto this. We're trying to create an elite level group here over the course of the season. So when you think about that and you look at that as football fans, like, do you see either Rashford or Pulisic getting onto this list? What do you think, Lewis? Do you think either of them have got the ability to make it into that level of echelon of Premier League player?
I think it's difficult to look at them because they are both so early on in their careers. Like, to say someone's a legend, I think they have to have done a lot in a very short period of time, which I don't think either have done. For me, I think Rashford's got a higher chance. And I do generally think, for as much as he's done outside of the game as in it, I think that goes a long way and that he'll be remembered incredibly fondly for that. But I think Rashford, you look at his story getting into the Manchester United first team, for me, he's got a better chance of getting higher up into that legend status than Pulisic did. I just don't think he's sort of anywhere near that right now.
Yeah, I happen to agree. Actually, when I look at these two as individuals, and I use them tonight, I think in the legacy race, Rashford will create a better legacy in the English game than Pulisic, in my opinion. I feel like Pulisic might even win some more major trophies in the short term compared to Marcus Rashford, but I don't think Pulisic will be remembered by Chelsea fans as being overtly pivotal. He may pick up a goal here, a goal there in runs and stuff, but in terms of being a driver and someone you look at and say, a linchpin, I don't see him being that. I do, on the other hand, see Marcus Rashford as being a player that can help score the goals and be pivotal in a team that wins titles. So I think he has an outside chance right now of maybe moving into that greatness category in the Prem. But yeah, both a long way to go in that argument. But definitely Rashford, for me, like, has got the chance of creating such a bigger legacy. I think Rashford's also helped by his charity work as well. It's always gonna make his name like stand out and people remember him massively, which seems to trigger some people. There we go. We have a super chat from Miguel here. This is to that City fan. The Champions League happened 4 months ago. Get over it. Pulisic has a better leg. One sec, mate. Pulisic has a better legacy due to his Champions League win.
Oh. I mean, yeah. Hold tight, you.
I've got to say, the trophies argument for me as a Liverpool fan is always going to be difficult because I'm going to put Steven Gerrard as one of all the Premier League all-time greats. But if you look at trophies, he's not on there. So, like, the trophies argument, I think, is so. Like Scott Carson's one in like the Champions League, it doesn't mean he's an all-time Premier League like goalkeeper. I think this trophies argument is so difficult to bring up in these kind of debates, especially when you talk about legacy. For me, individual legacy is far more significant than trophies won on a certain level. Obviously, trophies won are important, but I don't think. Are you just saying that?
Are you just saying that to protect Steven Gerrard? Because if you actually listen to every single professional football player that I've ever had the privilege of speaking to has said the thing they all care about the most is winning the trophies. It's the biggest currency in football. So surely it has to be the a massive factor.
But surely it's also about how much you contribute to it. So I get that if you're Mount or your Havertz or your Reece James or Chilwell or Kante, who had great, at very least they were great in the final, then yeah, all right, you can have that claim over City. Pulisic, come on, you're not going to start rating Pulisic over Kevin De Bruyne just because he's got a Champions League. Or maybe Chelsea fans will, but
that whole argument is so weak. Because I could then go and say Naby Keita's got a better legacy than Paul Pogba because he's won a Champions League.
Well, Origi scored in the final.
Well, Pogba's
it's part of the legacy, though. Trophies play a big part in the legacy. It's not.
I disagree. I disagree with the trophies. I completely disagree with the trophies thing because, in my opinion, teams win trophies, not individuals. When you look at individual players, and we're talking about individual legacies, when I brought my argument for like Rashford and Pulisic, I didn't mention trophies because trophies are won by teams, not by individuals. And even if you have to use trophies, then the weight of trophy matters. AKA, if you were a Vardy, a Kante, a Mahrez in that Leicester title win, because it's something amazing that happens once every blue moon, then you can go like, okay, trophy X. If you're a Gerrard in 05, if you're like someone who just like accomplished something phenomenal and won a trophy, then you can use that. But if you're just a cog in the machine, or you were just there as a part of the strongest team in the country or in the Champions League, then I'm not about to sit here and say PK is the best player and best defender in Europe just because he won the Champions
League. Then, so based on that logic, I want to make sure I'm hearing it right. Based on that logic, Harry Kane can win nothing but still go down to the greatest ever Premier League striker.
Yes.
Exactly. No.
I don't agree with that.
Yes, he can.
I don't agree.
Balance, context, balance.
Harry Kane is not the reason Tottenham are not winning.
Guys, let me just jump in, please. What I do need to ask, and this is me people on, is I know it's going to sound a bit arrogant. I need you let me to host this instead of everyone jumping in so we can get it down. When you say Daps, when you say balance and context, what do you mean by that?
That there has to be balance to it. Like 100%, I do agree. When your career finishes, you want to have trophies. Like one of the first things on Wikipedia will list what trophies you have. But at the same time, if you're only very much playing a bit part in it, you'll be remembered for that. Look, Benjamin Mendy has so many trophies. But are any of us going to sit here and start saying Benjamin Mendy is, and before what's happened, or potentially, any of us are going to sit here and start saying that Benjamin Mendy is one of the best left backs in the league? We're not, because it has to be balanced.
And I get that point, but you're comparing Benjamin Mendy to a striker like Harry Kane, who is, whose goal scoring record is amazing. My point is, if Harry Kane scores 300, what's the record Premier League goals? 260. If Harry Kane scores 300 Premier League goals but never wins a trophy, is he the best striker in Premier League history based on Hissam and your point of view? Would you say he's the best striker in Premier League history?
Yes.
100%. I disagree.
Yes. He's not the most successful, but he's the best.
No, I don't personally think that's a fair argument, because the reason being is I think Hissam kind of answered the question himself. It depends on impact. I think legacy is all about impact and influence. I mean, obviously we're going to get to Hazard and Salah later, but I think for me, Didier Drogba should have a greater legacy than a lot of people that I mentioned, because if you actually look at what Drogba achieved in the game, he practically scored in every final that he's played in. So therefore, his legacy is he's more influential than someone else who has it. Let's just say Paul Scholes, for example, has won 20 Premier League titles and he did contribute to all 20, right? If Drogba won 3, 4, 5, obviously you got to take into account the trophies. But if Drogba scored and in every single final that he's played, his legacy for me is far greater than some of the players that might get mentioned. So for Harry Kane, for example, I wouldn't say Harry Kane is better Premier League striker than Drogba. When Drogba's done it in all the major competitions, when it really mattered, when it's really mattered, where's Harry Kane gone? When they were going for the title, where did Harry Kane go? He disappeared. Every single big competition Harry Kane did is bottled it.
Well, you saw that. I want to say it was Gabi Abongwahor said that he would pick Kane over Cristiano Ronaldo in a final. And then you look, then you look at the statistic behind it. So, in all. Something I can't remember the number now, but it's something like 20 or 23 times I think Ronaldo scored in finals, and he's won 73% of his finals. Harry Kane scored none and lost all of them. And you just think to yourselves, Harry Kane, by the way, isn't going to score more goals than Ronaldo either, by the way, in his career. Ronaldo stripped him on that. But I do think what Usman said there is so true. yes, the weight of goals counts, but it's what you do in pivotal games. Paul Scholes' goal, for instance, in the Champions League semi-final against Barcelona,
Exactly.
Bruno Fernandes will swap all of his goals to have scored that.
All right, but going back to what we were debating, if we go back to what we were debating, so you're 100% right. A few people, we're kind of all saying similar things, but if we take it back, the question was, Pulisic, has he got a bigger legacy than, say, Kevin De Bruyne as an example, because he's won the Champions League? And it's no, because in big games, he wasn't pivotal.
Right,
he was. Yeah, he was.
Hang on. He played 33 minutes in the Champions League.
No, but if we're talking about Champions League, this Champions League win, he was man of the match in the quarterfinal with Porto, where he bossed the game, and in both legs against Real Madrid, he did his part. It's not like he
did his part, but that's not pivotal. We did his part, not pivotal.
It's not okay. It's not like he didn't do anything, though. That's my point. It's not like he sat on the bench for the whole tournament and didn't do anything. He still had a big contribution. And you say David Origi did nothing the whole tournament except that 2 goals. But see,
he's a striker and he scored 2 goals.
He scored 2 in the semi-final and 1 in the final, but no one says Origi has an incredible Champions League legacy.
But
you need to look at the individual. When you compare individuals, look at the individual. Like even with the Drogba thing that Usman just mentioned, if you go to Drogba, you go to his Wikipedia page, you go at individual awards, there's a list this big with what he's achieved individually. If you get recognized individually, if you get put into conversations individually because of what you've done as an individual, that's what shapes your legacy. What shapes your legacy is not the trophies, because there have been plenty of average footballers who have won trophies.
Okay, no, but Kane would be up there then.
Again, no, I think you're sorry. I think you're missing out a key component here. Nobody is saying Jonathan Greening's Champions League legacy is as good as Steven Gerrard because they both won 1 Champions League. That's the false equivalence. What people are saying is, if you've got Paul Scholes and Steven Gerrard that are neck and neck in many people's eyes when it comes to debates, you then have to start looking at how many trophies those players have won.
If they're neck and neck, agreed.
You have to start looking at the trophies they've won. The individual trophy element, I do get to a degree, but they're a bloody popularity contest now. We've all admitted that. So, PFA Player of the Years, you've all seen the interviews with ex-pros and how they don't take. You've all seen the interview, they don't take it seriously. There was the guy, it was a ginger guy that played at Stoke. You'll know Louis, you've got a really good knowledge of football. It was a ginger guy, played for Stoke.
Sidwell?
Centre back.
No, not Sidwell. No, whoever it is, he's a ginger.
Is it not John Walters? But he's not ginger.
No, it's not John Walters. It's whoever it is. He did an interview on the BBC a few years back, and they were talking about who should be the Player of the Year, and he was laughing about it. They asked him, "Why are you laughing at?" He says, "Oh, we got in trouble by the PFA one year because we put our nominees in as Maradona and Pelé, and what we sometimes used to do is whoever we thought should be winning it, we voted for like the next person down, that like their biggest rival for them to win it." And he basically went on to reveal that at least 50% of footballers take it as a joke. They don't even vote properly. So I was sort of, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I can't take that, but I can't take it seriously anymore because it's like the players don't take it seriously. If that makes it's a joke, like no one care. Well, not no one, but a lot of people don't care about it. So for me, I get all these arguments, but so Hussein, are you saying that individual awards are more important than winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues when it comes to the very best players? So Steven Gerrard getting PFA Player of the Year is more important than Paul Scholes lifting 13 Premier Leagues.
No. Yes, and I can explain why. If Paul Scholes, and I understand completely what you're saying regarding Paul Scholes, but here's my thing with Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes never got top 50 Ballon d'Or. We're not saying he should win it, not saying second, not saying third, not saying fifth, not saying 10th. He was never included in 20 years of football. He never got into the FIFA World 11 ever, and FIFA World 11 is not voted by footballers, it's voted by captains, by managers, by journalists, by important people. He never got into that. I think if I correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he even ever won the Man United Player of the Year. When you look at Gerrard's individual accomplishments versus Scholes, they are not even in the same category as each other. Now the thing is, Scholes won 13 Premier League titles. No, he didn't, or 11. Man United won 11 Premier League titles. If Scholes, I'm going to say this, and this will sound crazy, but this is my honest opinion. If Scholes never played a game for Man United, Man United still have 11 Premier League titles. If Gerrard never played a game for Liverpool, 05 wouldn't happen. Every single trophy we won would literally have not happened. There's a final named after him, the Gerrard final. 05 wouldn't have happened with Scholes. 06 wouldn't have happened with Scholes. Everything Gerrard has accomplished for Liverpool Football Club wouldn't have happened with Paul Scholes in there. So are we going to sit here and say Scholes is better than Gerrard because he won the league 11 times? I can make plenty of crazy arguments. Maxwell is one of the best left backs of all time. Arbeloa is one of the best right backs of all time. Ibrahimovic has a shit legacy because he never won the Champions League. Bald Ronaldo never won the Champions League.
One second. Listen, what you're doing there is you're going back to that false equivalency where you're comparing like Jonathan Greening to a Gerrard because they've both won a Champions League. Paul Scholes was overtly pivotal in Manchester United's teams. He was one of the driving forces for nigh on 2 decades. The question I would ask you is this: if you stood in front of Steven Gerrard now and said, would you give back all your individual awards for 11 Premier League titles, which would he take?
He would take the Premier Leagues, but right now, us as fans, we're comparing an individual against an individual. Why does the team trophy come into it? And like the first 2 examples, I'll give you that. I use the false equivalence. But the example of Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic, I can stick Patrick Vieira in there, never won the Champions League. That literally, so what we're basically saying is, for the Champions League, if just like as an example, and let's say the season City won the Premier League, if Gerrard transferred to City the summer before, and was pivotal in City winning the Premier League, and City won it, that this entire discussion would be different just because Gerrard has won Premier League. I don't believe it will be, because then the argument would be...
No, I do think it would. I
don't think so. The argument would be 11 Premier Leagues versus
Gerrard.
1.
No. If Steven Gerrard played for West Ham United his whole career, then I think you've got a point. But he played in Liverpool, one of the highest spenders in the Premier League era. Nearly every season we went into Premier Leagues, Liverpool fans that I knew, and I'm sure you did it, we don't have the receipts, bigged up your team, your manager. There were years where he had brilliant players around him. Him and his team collectively could never put it together in the Premier League, including himself. He could never put it together for a full season in the Premier League to galvanize a team to win a league title. Scholes did on 11 occasions. And to discount that and say none of that matters because he won a few popularity contests, I think is a madness. I think he's legitimately a madness.
Terry, I do have to ask, and it's a comparison. Does that mean Pep Guardiola isn't one of the best managers in the Premier League, managers in the world, because he hasn't won the Champions League? Because he has won the Champions League. Hang on.
He has won the Champions League.
In terms of with City, if we're looking at his time with City.
So if you're going to say, okay, no, yeah. So if you turn around and said, in 5 years' time, who's got the greatest English managerial legacy, as in when they manage in England? Of course, if he doesn't win a Champions League, that's something that will go against him, because there are managers in your club's history that have won Champions Leagues, won, broke records, done doubles. Of course, it plays a factor, but then something Pep has in his favor that no other manager does is in terms of points totals, how easily he won things, domestic trebles. That all goes in his favor. One of the things that goes against Liverpool in that the Klopp in his English legacy is he's never had a multiple trophy season. So of course all those things go into it. 110%. They have to. I
completely understand that. But one thing that when I look at trophies won, I look at it from 2 points of view. And I'm sure you as a Man United fan would admit this. Steven Gerrard would have walked into the Man United teams, I think personally. But Paul Scholes would have walked into the Liverpool teams as well. But you look at the comparison of the Liverpool teams and the Man United teams. Steven Gerrard is probably one of the only players from that Liverpool team that does walk into the Man United teams. We can all say that Liverpool fans were tipping us to win the title. Of course we were. Liverpool fans are some of the most delusional fans out there. Of course we were tipping us. Every team is part of being a follower. It's part of being a follower that you say your team's going to do well. But if Liverpool fans think about it, looking at that Man United team, call it the 07-08 team, that great team, realistically, it's probably only Steven Gerrard and maybe Fernando Torres at a push that gets in. So I think when I look at team accomplishments, I have to look at, does that make Steven Gerrard's accomplishments even more impressive, considering he did it with the team around him?
So based on that then, why last year did Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, City fans say that Bruno Fernandes, the highest goal scorer midfielder in Premier League history, why is he not up for any awards this year? Because and what was the reason that every one of you gave? And I've seen all your tweets, or not all of you, but I've seen a lot of your tweets. You all said, "Where's the trophies, though? Where's the trophies of all them goals? Those goals mean nothing without trophies." Now we're sitting here saying trophies mean nothing. It's about individuals. No. Based on the logic, Bruno should be up for Ballon d'Or then, yes?
Sorry, I'm a million percent. Hang on, Bruno. I think Kane should
Where's
have
the
won.
campaigns for it then? Where's the campaigns for you all
Hang
saying
on, hang
Bruno
on.
should be Ballon d'Or winner because he got more goals in a single season than any English-based player ever?
Hang on,
Where's
Harry
the
Kane.
campaign?
Harry Kane should have won the fact he didn't win PFA Player of the Year last year, top assists and top goals was an absolute joke. He came 7th. I think that and you know what? Part of my argument, if I was making that argument, would be he got those accolades playing in that Tottenham team that wasn't as good. I think you do have to look at, in terms of team accomplishments, yes, what Paul Scholes did was so incredibly impressive, but you can't look at it so black and white. It's got to be, yes, he did great things in that Man United team that was fantastic, but you look at what Harry Kane's done at City, Spurs, with those amazing goal and assist returns. You look at what Steven Gerrard did as well in that Liverpool team. His amazing returns. You look at that and you have to say, yes, while the team accomplishments are amazing, so is doing it in a team that isn't as accomplished around him. I think that I'm not saying that one carries more weight than the other. I just think you have to look at both. And
I understand your points, boys. We are going to move on to the big debate tonight of Mo Salah versus Eden Hazard. My final point would be this. Liverpool fans have a very, very, very convenient habit in recent times of playing down how good their teams were in the Gerrard era to elevate the Gerrard argument. And
Terry.
No. You
Terry,
do.
they were shit teams, Terry.
No, none of you said they were shit at the time. None of you, 5 years ago, none of you said they were shit. It's a new social media method. He actually had a midfield. He was playing with Xavi Alonso and Xavi Mascherano, while Scholes was playing with Anderson and winning Premier League titles.
Hang on.
It's a nonsense.
That's true, you know.
Don't do that, Terry.
Hang on. Yes, he's playing with
11 players. Not just
he's
3
also playing
midfielders.
with he's playing with Vidic and Ferdinand behind him. He's playing.
You
with,
guys had Sami Hyypiä, who you at the time said was one of the best centre backs in the league. You had Jamie Carragher, you all said at the time was one of the best centre backs in the league. Pepe Reina, world class goalie. I remember what you all said.
Terry,
What are you now for?
Terry, I was 8 when Hyypiä left Liverpool. I mean, I'm not talking about in terms of these players. I'm genuinely, I don't think, as a Man United fan, you look at that Liverpool team, call it that 08-09 team. How many Liverpool players do you put in that Man United team?
You know what? Listen, if you won the league, you would say they were world beaters. But because you didn't, you're now downplaying them.
No.
Yes. Because if Man United didn't win the league, some of their players then would not be said they were as good. But when you win a league, all of a sudden you become. You get more ratings put on you. It's just the way it is.
Liverpool fans about the 05 Champions League team. None of us say that team was world class and won the Champions League.
They were shit.
We all looking back on it say realistically, Gerrard.
Sorry, I was trying to interject. I look, we'll all agree to disagree. It's all fun. By the way, viewers, it's all fun and games here. Everyone's cool. No one's fighting. It's football. It's love. Rashford and Pulisic isn't a fair comparison. Even as a Chelsea fan, Rashford is just a far better player and proving it because a little group are deluded. I put it out there because I saw it trending on social, well, I'd say trending amongst a few big Chelsea accounts today. So we added it to the debate. But we're moving on to the big one now, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving on to the big one. Mo Salah versus Eden Hazard. We want your thoughts. We want your feelings. Remember, the tiering comes soon, so get those super chats in, ladies and gentlemen. That's coming very soon. Let's do this, people. Let's go. Right, gents. We're going to start off. Who's with Mo Salah tonight? So where's all the Hazard guys gone? Where's the Hazard man at? I thought there's going to be more Hazards here. So
it's 4v1. Hey, Terry, you got to back me, Terry. It's 4v1.
I prefer Mo Salah, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I'm not involved in the debate. But we'll start with Mo Salah. I'm going to go to Hussein first of all. I'm going to give you Mo Salah. You've got to tell me why you think. Monstar's on his way, by the way. I've sent you the link, brother. It's on via WhatsApp. So go check that out, brother, and get yourselves on here. Darren, we're back in a minute with us. I need to hear from you now, Hussein. Why is Mo Salah's legacy bigger and better than Eden Hazard's?
I'm gonna remain consistent. I'm not gonna use team trophies for any legacy video you ever get me on. I'm just gonna look at them as individuals. I think individually, Mo Salah, why he has a bigger legacy than Eden Hazard is Mo Salah right now has the record in a 38 Premier League game season for goals in a season. Mo Salah has consistently scored 20 plus goals ever since he stepped foot into Anfield. I've actually heard this specific sentence from a Chelsea fan. He said Hazard had a season off, and I know exactly which season. You guys know exactly which season we're going to talk about. But with Mo Salah, he's barely had a game off. He's always available. He's always a goal-scoring threat. He's scored in big moments. He scored in important games. He scored against Napoli. He scored in the Champions League final. I can go on and on and on. Man of the match performances. He scored, I think, last season was the first time he scored against United. But after that, he scored against every other Premier League team. He's always a threat. And I think last season, actually, was the one thing that pushes Salah's legacy further. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the season that Liverpool's system collapsed, the season that Liverpool played like horrendously under Klopp, he was still the guy for us and still scored 20 plus Premier League goals. And obviously in all competitions, it was 25 plus, 30 plus. So I think after the system collapsed, if you're still with, like, apparently he's the system player, but after the system collapsed, if he's still scoring 20 plus goals and the likes of Mane and Firmino disappeared, then that's an indictment, and that shows that Mo Salah isn't actually the system player, and Mo Salah is actually one of the few world-class players at Liverpool.
Who's got the most individual awards and individual nominees though? Because that's the most important thing, isn't it? Individual nominations. So which based on your logic, you should only be focusing, shouldn't you, on individual trophies, nominations in the Ballon d'Or? Who's got the most of them?
I don't have that down. Like Scholes, Gerrard, like I don't know it for sure, but I know Salah as well. He won the Player of the Year. He got into the Premier League 11 twice in 4 years. He's won 2 Golden Boots. So these are all individual accomplishments.
What about
Terry? You a bad guy for that. You are.
Ballon d'Or. He got into the top 10 3 times. 3 times in the top 10.
Viewers, I'd love to know what Eden Hazard's stats are on that. I'm going to go to Ziad here. Ziad, what's your first argument for Eden Hazard?
First of all, I think Hazard was at Chelsea for 7 years, and from as far as I'm concerned, he had 1 bad season. And for someone to be in this Chelsea team, who if you look at what we've done in the last 7 years, it's been a roller coaster, up and down. Conte, Mourinho, all the managers we've gone through, and Sarri, and the ups and downs that we've had, bad transfer windows, bad players coming in, good for expensive price tags, and Hazard has dealt with that. He's had to deal with Morata, Higuain to play up front with him, right? Yet he still carried the Chelsea team. Europa League he carried us, Premier League he carried us, in the G he carried us, 2 Premier League occasions he carried us. If you look at his career at Chelsea, how many times did he really have a great team? And for Salah, who's been in a great team, so he's been there for 4 years, we can all agree that Liverpool have been very successful in the last 4 years, right? Winning the Champions League, winning the Premier League, and he's been in a very good squad, and his role was to just finish. He was there to finish while having great people behind him. Hazard, no matter what the circumstance was, bar 1 season, he was the man for Chelsea. And that's why I put him up at Salah. Young player of the year in the Premier League. I easily could have won it twice, but Kante was there. And all the man of the matches awards. And to deal with someone like Higuain and Morata. And if I'm not mistaken, I've seen a stat that the highest record Hazard has got in terms of assists by another player was 4. So the most assists someone has assisted Hazard was 7 times. That just shows that he never had to help. He never had to help. He was the man carrying Chelsea in all seasons, bar 1 bad season.
Okay.
In 2016.
I hear you on that. We had a super chat earlier that missed from Adrian. He says goal scoring plus more consistency is with Mohamed Salah. Hazard in 8 years at Chelsea was one of the best for 7 years and won more Premier Leagues and was better at dribbling and better at creativity. Adrian, thanks for that. Lamar, one sec, bro. I've got a super chat to do here. Sorry. Lamar here says Hazard 2 UEFA and World 11s, Salah 0, silver ball in the World Cup, more Premier Leagues, player of the season, and in which Salah has never won, is what Lamar says there. You're about to say something there, Lewis.
Yeah. Did you say the super chat said about Salah was Hazard was a better creator?
Yes.
Statistically, that's untrue. In Mohamed Salah creates a big chance in 0.35 his Premier League games. Hazard is 0.27. So I mean, let's look at stats, right? Because if you're an attacker, it's output. I know Hazard on the ball might look significantly better, and he does. Mohamed Salah doesn't look like a great player. He looks clunky. He looks awkward. Hazard is objectively looks better on the ball, but it's all about output, right? So Mohamed Salah in 161 Premier League games, and I'm counting his Chelsea career here because it's important. I can't just look at his Liverpool career. His Chelsea career was a thing. He's scored in 0.61 of his games and assisted in 0.22. So Hazard is apparently a better creator, a better assister. He has got the exact same assist per game ratio, 0.22, but has got 0.35 goals, so significantly less. Mohamed Salah has scored or assisted in 0.84 of his Premier League games. Each game, he assists 0.84 goals. Hazard is 0.57. So Hazard scores and assists 0.57 goals every game. Salah just scores 0.61. So we're looking at output here. There is no way anyone can say that Salah isn't better. And I hear your point about Morata and Higuain. It's a very valid point. So then let's look at big chances created, which if Hazard creates the big chance, it doesn't matter if they finishes it. It's based on what he creates. Hazard has created 0.27 every game. Salah 0.35. So it doesn't matter who's on the end of these chances.
Sorry to interrupt, but for you to compare Salah and Hazard's stats, I think is invalid because when you look at Salah, the way I see football and the way he plays, he is stuck in that right forward, in that right, just there. He's just there waiting for the ball. And then, of course, brilliant finishing, brilliant in terms of creating for Mane and Firmino, etc. Hazard is the man in that Chelsea team. Chelsea team, even when it was poor, even when it was good, you get the ball, you give it to Hazard. You get the ball, you give it to Hazard. He collected from deep, he collected from up there. He would carry through the whole team, take everyone on, and then the end product might not have been there. But as I said, Morata, Higuain, and that's where it comes from. He is the player for Chelsea, and he's done that for 6 years. He's been there for 7 years, but we're going to take away that one season. That's how long he's been doing it for, when he's been carrying Chelsea on his back, not just waiting for the end product. That's why I wouldn't compare stats with these two players, because if you're talking about end product, they're completely two different players.
So I have to ask you, what in your view does Eden Hazard do that Mohamed Salah can't do? Or what does he do better than Mohamed Salah? Because I genuinely, apart from looking good on the ball, I don't know anything. Because statistically, you talk about being the man to create. If they gave him the ball, he created less chances.
But we can come on. We can all, if you were to watch Hazard and Chelsea play, you can all see that he was getting the ball and that he would dribble through literally the whole team, take on 2-3 man, and then the end product wouldn't be great because of the players he was playing with.
Okay,
We can't,
guys.
come on.
Yeah, we're going to move this out a little bit now. I'm going to go to Monstar and Igao in a moment. I'm going to go back to Tom in a minute. But I want to give Usman a chance, as you say. He's been ducking in and out. He's had some signal issues. But Usman, what do you want to say, bro?
Yeah, look, I'm listening to what they're saying. Obviously, in terms of numbers, right? I think it's very difficult to sit there and compare, Hazard's output to Salah's output. I mean, you can sit there and make that case for so many players. X, Y, and Z is better than, another player. I mean, I used the example of Drogba and Kane earlier. You can sit there and tell me Kane's better striker than Drogba, but we all know while watching football, Kane is not better than Drogba because of what Drogba's done in key moments. And I think that's what it comes down to. Salah, fair play to him. He's done it for Liverpool in the last couple of years. But, as the Chelsea lad says earlier, Hazard done it for 6 years and he's carried his Chelsea team, a very poor Chelsea team, on his back time after time again. I think you can't underestimate the sort of ability for Hazard to carry his Chelsea team. I think with Salah as well, I mean, it's so ironic and hypocritical of Liverpool fans now. You were first saying that Gerrard did it in a worse team at Liverpool than Scholes, so therefore Gerrard's achievement was far significant to Scholes. But now when Hazard's done it in a far inferior team to Salah, it doesn't seem to apply. So why, using your logic, Hazard was in a worse team at Chelsea for larger periods because Liverpool fans say that this Liverpool team is the greatest of all time. So Salah's achievements should be far less, shouldn't they? Because that's your logic.
Hang on. Let me hear this right. So are you saying that we can compare, that it's on the same level to compare the one of the best Man United teams, probably one of the best teams in Premier League history in that Man United team, and the gap between that Liverpool team that won the Champions League to the team that Eden Hazard was in, that the season he came won the Champions League, to the Liverpool team right now. I think
Right,
I know
okay,
Terry, you mentioned earlier.
One
Hang on,
Champions League,
I know
but got
Terry,
dropped
you
into
mentioned
Europa
earlier
League.
that I know Terry, you mentioned earlier that Liverpool fans have got this thing of downplaying their team. I can't believe you guys are sitting here saying
No,
that Chelsea
but
team
listen
wasn't
to what
great.
Usman said there. What Usman said was Liverpool fans are the ones who have said that your Premier League team was the greatest ever Premier League side.
Exactly, we've not said it.
So, but the point he's making is, and you're never going to get an exact comparison where the difference between Paul Scholes' Premier League, and by the way, not all of Paul Scholes' Premier League winning teams were some of our best in our history. The 2013 Premier League winning team was one of our worst in history. But the point he's making is that you've allowed a concession for Steven Gerrard because he was in a worse team than Scholes, a worse team than Lampard. But when it's universally agreed that Eden Hazard was in a worse team than Mo Salah, suddenly you're not factoring that into any of the statistical outputs that you're breaking down.
I agree. But that's why I looked at big chances created, because if Hazard is creating those big chances, that's on him as an individual. It doesn't matter whether Morata or Higuain.
So do you know a big chance created only counts if a player actually touches it? If I put a ball across the 6-yard box, and Tammy Abraham, I'm just using Tammy, slides in to score it and he misses the ball, statistically that doesn't count as a big chance created because no one touched it.
I agree.
Matters.
But when we talk about Morata and Higuain and those joke strikers that we talk about, the issue isn't them not getting onto the ball; it's them fluffing their chances if they do get the ball.
It's the issue of giving Hazard no help. That was the issue. It was the issue of
I get it.
Him having absolutely no one with him.
I get it, and I 100% agree with your point about Mohamed Salah being in a better team. He is in a better team with better players, but I just don't think you can. I don't think you can put it in the same bracket as I don't think his team was nearly as bad as the Liverpool team that Steven Gerrard was in for the majority of his time with Liverpool. Yes, he played in some decent teams, that 08-09 season with Xabi Alonso and Torres and Mascherano. But I think the majority of Chelsea players that were in the team of Hazard would walk into that Liverpool team. I don't think it's a fair comparison.
Okay. Tonks here, Tonks Coles says, give the guy an award, but in the bottom left, he was talking about Usman for his comment there, which is very, very good. Thank you, Tonks, for that a lovely donation. Adrian says that stat is horrendous. Salah has played less games in what Liverpool fans say is the best team of all time. Hazard played more games and won playmaker twice. Ronaldo says Hazard ended a player's Premier League career. Hazard's legacy is more. Thank you for all those super chats, everybody. I'm going to go to Monstar now to have his say. Then I'm going to go to Tom. Monstar, what's your take on this legacy debate between Hazard and Mo Salah, brother?
I can't believe we are comparing Eden Hazard to that bum that couldn't even get in our team. Like, are we serious here? Are we acting like Mo Salah? No, are we acting like Eden Hazard wasn't the best player in the Premier League for 8 years straight? Like, where's the comparison? Like, do you want to use? You're only going to use, and Liverpool fans, obviously they'll use goals and assists. But then when it comes to Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, they're not going to use goals and assists. Like, I don't get it. Like, the guy was the best player in the Prem for 8 years straight. He won more trophies. Yes, you could say he didn't win the Champions League, but Hazard won more Premier Leagues. He won FA Cups. He won League Cups. He won Europa Leagues. He's won everything. Plus, he's won Player of the Years. There's nothing he hasn't won. Like, he was deep when the both of them played at a point in the Premier League, right? Who was regarded as the best player in the Prem? It's Eden Hazard, and there was no one even close. Like, it's not even a discussion. I'm sorry. All Salah is, he scores goals, he scores banger, but that's like, to me, this is a stupid even debate. Like, it shouldn't even be a debate. Hazard is the best player, is way better than that bum. Like, it's not even comparable, isn't it? It's not even comparable. The guy is a bum. Do you know what I mean? There's no comparison. Like, stop it, please. End this debate now and let's go to sleep, please.
With all due respect, Terry, I said it at the backstage. This is a very, very silly, because what this man has done in comparison in such a long period of time compared to Salah, and you want to look at stats, and as I said before, you can't compare it to his stats. One is there waiting to score goals with great finishing.
I hear you.
And the other is
we have a super chat from Eaton here. Eaton says, "Who will be remembered as the better player in 20 years? Salah for sure, because of his numbers. So Eaton, one of our super chatters, says that Salah will be remembered because of those goals. That record will resonate longer than the eye test level when it comes to Eden Hazard.
Can I just say then, I don't want to hear anyone saying Steven Gerrard will be known or whatever more than Lampard. If that's the debate we're gonna go off, I don't want to hear it no more. It's done. The argument is finished, isn't it? Simple as that.
Monstar forward versus midfielder.
I don't stats. It's stats, right?
Hang on, I do have to say, and I know your point about Hazard being the best player in the Premier League. I mean, at a point when they were both
8 years for 8 years.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. He
had a year. He had a year where he basically didn't turn up. And I know you mentioned Salah, Hazard winning the Europa League with Chelsea. Unfair comparison. Liverpool have never been in a position with Salah to be in the Europa League. But I think that your point about
let's not act like I see you, Sam, laughing. You lot lost in Europa League final, did you not? Like, don't try it.
Salah wasn't there. We're talking about Salah.
He was there. You would have still lost.
Hang on, Salah wasn't there. Salah wasn't there. Since Salah came in, we got the Champions League final, won the Champions League. We
lost the Champions League. How many finals has Salah lost? I mean, how many finals? Compare his losses to wins in finals.
One loss.
In the Premier League, I mean, since I'm talking about all competitions since he's come to Liverpool.
4 wins,
one loss in a final.
He's had one final loss, and he's won the
4 wins, 4 final wins. Are you joking?
Hang on. He's had one final loss
since he came to Liverpool.
One final loss. He won the Champions League. He won the Super Cup. You'll remember that we beat Chelsea. He won the Club World Cup.
You're counting them.
I can't believe it. They're counting.
Yeah, of course we're going to count them.
Oh my day.
Of course.
Yeah, but again, I'm going to go back to the earlier argument. What I will say is this. Everyone actually knows my opinion on this, who I think is the better player, because I'm an outputs person. But I'm playing devil's advocate. What I'm noticing with the Salah debate so far is your Salah debates contradict your Gerrard debates.
Thank you.
Hang on.
So what are we going with? Are we going
what
with
are we doing, bro?
I don't care about trophies.
How it looks.
How am I contradicting? How?
I don't care.
I didn't use trophies for either. I used individual versus individual.
Yes.
I only bought up trophies.
One sec. Hussein, what you did is you used individual awards to put Gerrard above Scholes, but you use individual stats, not individual awards. So you've moved the goalpost on it. So if it's individual awards and not statistical outputs, then Hazard has to be, in your opinion, better than Salah because he's got more.
No, because Salah has just as many individual awards as well. Like Salah's Wikipedia page of individual awards is literally endless, and he made it in the obviously like when I said the only thing that's stats related is the thing that I said he has the goals record, but that really isn't a stat related thing because it's more of an accomplishment that he has on individual level, where basically when we look back in 10 years and we tell our children about Henry, whoever, like Drogba, etc., the strikers we've all watched. But then they go like, Dad, why does Mo Salah have the record for the goals? So this is the thing. This is an individual achievement. I never said once in the argument Salah won the Champions League and Hazard didn't, because I don't believe in that. Liverpool won the Champions League and Chelsea didn't. Not Salah did and Hazard didn't. I look at them as players. I look at them individually. Individually, Salah has more in the English game than Hazard. And Hazard being the best player for 8 seasons is massive cap. Because he literally wasn't the best player for it. You could argue for Kante. You could argue for many other players who played in the league. Aguero, the season that City won the league, that's another one. I could argue for Yaya Toure, the season City won the league. So I can go on and on and on. You can't just go Hazard for 8 years. That's
you Chelsea fans like to glorify Eden Hazard to a level. I don't think Eden Hazard should be in this conversation with Mo Salah. Mo Salah is
oh my
God! Guys, everyone, let the girl speak.
Mo Salah should be in the same category as Premier League greats like Cristiano Ronaldo with the outputs that he's produced and the amount of trophies that he's been able to win as the main guy producing for Liverpool. I don't know what's going on with my captain.
2 trophies. He's
won 2 trophies. Listen, as much as you want to belittle his 2 trophies, what you gotta understand is with the team that he's got, he's the main guy. He's the main guy producing week in, week out. He's scoring the goals, he's getting the assists, everything's going through him. Based on the recency bias, he's being put down a lot more than other players. Mo Salah, in my opinion, based on the numbers that he has right now, in the short time period that he's been at Liverpool, he's been producing at a historic rate. Eden Hazard, in the time that he's at Chelsea, yes, he was picking up awards, team awards, everything else. I get that. And he picked up way more man of the matches because he, as an individual performer throughout the 90 minutes, he might impact the game a lot more. But
wait.
Salah,
Gal, you guys are making Salah sound like Gerrard now. He's the main guy. So what happened to Van Dijk and everyone else then? Are they scrubs?
The only thing let me agree with you for a second. The one thing I agree with you is this conversation is ridiculous because you should not be comparing Eden Hazard and Mo Salah. Look at Mo Salah. Look at Mo Salah.
Why? You haven't said one valid point. Why?
Look at Mo Salah and what he does, and look at Eden Hazard and what they do. They're two completely different players. But when you look at them and you say weigh them up, who's the better player? I would take Mo Salah 10 times out of 10 over Eden Hazard. You want somebody in your team who's going to win you the games, score you the goals, finish those chances over the guy who's going to set up everything, and then his players are going to let him down. And when you're talking about Eden Hazard being the best player in the Premier League for those 8 years, that's not true. There was always players that were up to his level or even better than him. Alexis Sanchez
they
was
weren't.
at one point.
No, he was not.
The same season where you're saying was the same season you were saying was his best season at Chelsea under one of his best seasons at Sarri's, when he was also the same season when Mo Salah was smashing it in the league and he was a Ballon d'Or candidate. So stop talking about Eden Hazard. No. Stop talking about Eden Hazard on a pedestal when you guys are disrespecting a guy who's done more than Eden Hazard in a shorter time.
He hasn't. Who's disrespecting? You know what? I've said
that season, Salah won Player of the Year.
Guys. I want to speak to Tom. Tom hasn't spoken on this yet. I have a few super chats to do first of all that I need to go to. First one is from Hisamsu. This says, Terry, read this out loudly, please. It's very important for context. Hazard played 5 seasons out of 7 under defensive managers, and he destroyed the Premier League under Sarri, and Salah played in a fully attacking system, is what he had to say. Got another one here from Old, who says, Hazard played in a defensive system his whole Chelsea career, except under Sarri. Imagine him like around with players that Pep and Klopp have at their disposal. We have a few more super chats I've got to go through here. I can't miss all of these. We got one here from Strictly Football that says Chelsea fans downplaying the impact of goals. Come on. S says context matters in this debate. Hazard played in a defensive system. The system, a lot of people saying that. Baron says wasn't Mane and Firmino scoring as much as Salah? No. I'm not too sure about that. I have to fact check.
Can I just add one thing, Terry, to what that super chat said? These guys are talking about Eden Hazard, greatest season under Sarri, which was an attacking manager. And Mo Salah that same season had better numbers, produced more, and was player of the year.
No, he didn't. He was one behind the season before. And
I have to say as well, on your point about Mo Salah, on your point about Mo Salah being bummed, right? Mo Salah has done something that not only has Eden Hazard never done, no Chelsea player has ever done. In terms of all of your great strikers, he has scored the most Premier League goals of anyone in a 38-game season. So you can't sit there and go, oh this or that, they played in different positions. Salah has done something.
Can I ask a question though?
In the Premier League,
I get that. Can I ask a question though? I want to ask a question about that though. I want to ask a question, and I'm playing devil's advocate again here.
Yeah.
Is there not a greater legacy if you do a bit of a Drogba season where you score half that amount of goals, but you win your goals win so many more games that you win a Premier League title? Does that not create, we said about, I do think team trophies matter when somebody has a pivotal season. So Cristiano Ronaldo scored less individual goals than Mo Salah did.
Won a double.
He won a Premier League and Champions League double. That makes his legacy greater because you've added individual awards, massive amount of goals, and you lifted the most important thing was a trophy. You did enough in the most important games. Mo Salah clearly didn't do enough in the most important games. Otherwise, you'd have won more than anybody else.
Hang on. In fairness, we drew one game. We lost one game. Like you look at Salah that season, scored in the Champions League final.
He scored in some big games to win us games. And don't forget, right? That
No,
was
I'm talking about the season where he got like the record-breaking goals. He didn't win the Champions League that year, did you?
Okay. In the season, he got the record-breaking goals. Yeah, 1,000,000%. You're right.
When did he finish?
I'm sure, and I'm sure you say to Salah as well. Would you rather have scored one less goal but win and don't get the record but win the trophies? I'm sure 1,000,000% he would have. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he has scored the most goals of anyone in a Premier League season. I 100% get
but I think what we're doing here is we're removing clutch. Clutch is so important. Clutch goals, clutch games, being that standout player in, and this is one of the arguments about Steven Gerrard at the most important time, in my opinion, because winning, we know for Liverpool, winning the league is everything by the way you reacted when you won the leagues. We know that. You all said it in interviews. I watched it. My channel was part of your massive documentary that got released on Sky, and every Liverpool fan said the league is everything. In the most important time in Gerrard's career, when you were going to win the league, he let up.
He slipped.
That's clutch. That's a lack of clutch at the most opportune moment. That's why I don't think no. I'm not talking just a slip. I'm talking Palace. I'm talking those games. The point is I'm not saying that defines Gerrard's career, but to discount clutch, I think he's so disrespectful.
I agree.
Terry, nowadays,
we're not discounting it. We're not discounting it. Salah has one of the highest winning goals in the Premier League ever since he stepped.
Because he sits there on the right forward.
I'm sorry.
He does not. Okay, if he sits there, why does he have the most created chances then? Why does he create more chances than Firmino and Mane?
Guys. One thing we know.
Speaking of clutch, last season, Monstar, without Salah's goals, we would finish 13th. And factually speaking, not my opinion, we would finish 13th. And he actually won us more games. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read the stat. He actually won the most games, as in winning goal, the entire league last season. So if you want to talk about clutch, scoring in Champions League final, Napoli, we need a goal. Salah scores. Mane misses 2 1-on-1s down the other end, but apparently Mane is a better player. Salah scores the goal. I can just go on and on with important games. Salah scored and winning goals and stuff. So it's just when you say that with the Gerrard situation, we're making two comparisons that are not fair because the comparisons are different because we're looking at different things. With Gerrard, first of all, you look at the back five. That back five is not suitable to win any league, whether Messi, Suarez, Neymar are ahead of them. Never mind the front three we had. The second thing is we lost the league against Palace. We did not lose it against Chelsea. We were 3-0 up. The Gerrard slipped 3 times to cost us 3 goals. Or am I missing something?
He captained your team in the game that you threw a 3-0 lead away in. That is massive.
But that's not his fault that we lost that game.
Guys, let's just slow this down a minute. I'm not blaming Gerrard for it, but I'm talking about...
I am.
Monstar might be. I'm talking about clutch moments, and I understand scoring loads of goals is important, but like we said, Drogba for me is going to always be remembered as a better striker than Harry Kane, because he scored so many goals in so many important moments. And we all agree with this because Mo Salah's 44 goal season, do you remember that more? Or do you remember the year that he scored less but you won the Premier League? You as fans don't even agree with your own argument. Those moments mean more. But I need to go to Tom Little because Tom Little hasn't spoken yet. What are you saying, Tom?
Well, I've been listening to everything here and I've got a couple of things, couple of categories. If you go off Premier League in terms, because you play a part in it, and the bigger players play a bigger part. That's what happens. So Hazard has more Premier League, fair enough. Given that one, Salah has a better record in the Premier League in terms of goals and assists in less games. So you give more weight to Hazard. Champions League, it's a clean wipe with Salah. He's won a Champions League, and he had one season where he scored. I think it's the same or one less goal than Hazard got every season in Chelsea in the Champions League. Hazard, I think he has one knockout goal, and it was a penalty against PSG. Domestic cups, that's Hazard's every day of the week because Salah doesn't play. We don't do it. That's Hazard. He's got an FA Cup. He's got a League Cup. He was pivotal in the FA Cup win. Won that FA Cup final. Sound. So Hazard's got the domestic cups. Salah's got the European. Then it's just touch and go with the Premier League.
But Hazard has more Premier Leagues though.
Yeah,
substantially more.
And wait. Let me finish. And Barmar Salah is not winning another Prem, especially not this season, number one. And number two, yeah, Steven Gerrard's legacy.
Where's Steven Gerrard come into this?
Whoa.
I
want no, because you didn't let me finish my point. Steven Gerrard's legacy, his biggest moment in his career, as everyone knows him now, they got songs about it and everything. Slip. That is Steven Gerrard's greatest point, his legacy in his career. It's not cap.
But Monstar. You see how Gerrard's biggest moment came in the Champions League final.
No, Steven Gerrard. He slipped on his head. He gave it to them.
Boring argument. We've heard it for 10 years, so we're used to it.
I want to just, guys, I want to go around the room. Stroh's with us now. I'm going to go to Stroh in a minute. I want to get Daps's view on what you hearing here and your view on the legacy element, mate.
You know what, right? So, Terry, I told you earlier that I was backing Mo, right? Which is hard for me because I am the most neutral fan on this debate that you can get because, like, Hazard was in an era when the Chelsea fans are saying he was the best player for 8 years in a row. In that 8 years, how many times did City win the league, right? And in that period, they're just disrespecting Silva, Aguero, Fernandinho, so many City players. So that's the reason why I want to maybe go away from Hazard. But then with Mo Salah, he plays for Liverpool. So I'm always going to go away from him. So I came in back in Mo Salah. But the fact is, right, all I've been hearing is numbers. And that has made me decide I'm going with Hazard because they're different players, right? And Hazard, yeah, David Silva is the pass before the pass. And City fans will always talk about David Silva. Hazard is a player that was so pivotal to anything Chelsea won while he was there. Maybe he didn't get the assist. Maybe he didn't always get the goal, but he would have been involved somewhere. Now, Salah in maybe a few more years, maybe. But if we're talking right now, based on it's Hazard. I've changed by listening to this debate. I've changed. It's Hazard. It's not numbers always.
Hazard is, guys, 1 second. So there's a super chat we had as well here. Jack here. I want to put this question to Pusim. He says, who do you remember more and has a better Premier League era, Bergkamp or Michael Owen? Michael Owen has better outputs, but Dennis Bergkamp won more and has bigger moments. Who is the bigger legacy in the English game, Bergkamp or Michael Owen, in your opinion, Hussein?
The problem is with Bergkamp is his legacy as a footballer, never mind in the English game by itself. But if we're just saying in the English game, there's definitely an argument for Owen. Just an argument. Like, obviously, because he won the Ballon d'Or at Liverpool, he was top goal scorer, etc., etc. So he does have an argument. But the problem is with Bergkamp, because of nostalgia, because of the great moments he had and all that stuff, there's an argument for him as well. So I don't know the answer to that one. It's a tough one.
But do you know what's interesting about that? I never even thought about it. Michael Owen won a Ballon d'Or.
He did.
Yes.
Cristiano Ronaldo won a Ballon d'Or. So based on your logic, Husam, Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest ever football player. Like, he's better than Thierry Henry. Because the individual winning the Ballon d'Or is, in your eyes, is the ultimate player award, and he won it. So he's better than Thierry Henry then. Like in the Premier League. I'm not even trying to be facetious. I'm just trying to understand logic here.
Terry, I'll explain to you my logic. My logic is not Ballon d'Or full stop. My logic is being recognized individually. I'm not trying to bring this back to Gerrard, but I'll just explain to you in 30 seconds quickly what I mean. When we compare Gerrard and Scholes, it's not simply Gerrard was a Ballon d'Or contender and Scholes wasn't. You look at every single individual award the player has won. Gerrard made the World 11 3 times. Gerrard was England player of English player of the year twice. Like, I actually have a photo up, but I can't find it. But it literally compares them, and the comparison is staggering. Like, here's the thing with Mo Salah and Eden Hazard, both of them have a page this big. With Scholes, this is his page, and this is Gerrard's page for individual award. So this is where the argument is different, because it's not just 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
With Henry, if we look at the individual awards,
brother,
I'll give you one individual award that's mad.
Mate, I hear your point here, but you do understand that, like, there's a big bit of context you're missing out when it comes to Paul Scholes. Like, Paul Scholes was never. I'm getting a really bad echo from someone. I'm not too sure it's coming from. I think it's coming from Stroh there. Sorry, mate. Like, Paul Scholes. No, it's not. I know who it's coming from. We're getting an echo from someone here. I'm just trying to work out who it is. There we go. Yeah, that's done now. It's gone. Whoever muted, it's done. Paul Scholes. How do I put this? Every single top-class football player that's played with him, against him, drools over him. And look, you put your hand on your head and you're like, no, it's about individual awards. Like, when people like Zidane were winning those awards, and it was like, what's it like to be the greatest midfielder in the world? The response was, and this wasn't some PR crazy response because they had the same agent or were sponsored by the same boot manufacturer. Like you see now with, like when two singers are on the same record label, for 3 years, they big each other up and then never work with each other again afterwards because it's the record label. They said Paul Scholes for a reason, because he simply was the best. Now, Paul Scholes was a quiet, unassuming little ginger man who was an amazing footballer that he had no want for fame. He had no want for, being in magazines and whatever. If Paul Scholes was David Beckham, he would have won all them awards. Because those awards are a popularity contest, and they have been for the last 30 years. It's who's fact, and since social media has become prevalent, it's become even more so. It's literally who's got the most followers and the biggest pool, and who draws in the most clicks for debates. They're the players that get put forward for things. It's all been about, the irony is, it's all been about goals and assists, and also gone down to who has won the trophies. And what I mean by that is, like, I just look at the Paul Scholes thing, and people always go, he didn't get nominated for anything individually, therefore he couldn't have been the best. But when he was playing in those moments, no one cared about any of that. Everyone said he was the best. Every Liverpool player that's been in the England squad, when they said, who's the best player that you played with in the England squad, they all say Paul Scholes, every single one of them. So
all the greats, Ronaldinho, Xavi, and
care about the awards, because the men that know the game the most, there are quotes from footballers that have said, like, Paul Scholes is one of the only footballers that ever made them cry watching the game. It was so beautiful. That means something. Plus, on top of that, his goal scoring record was amazing. Equally, something he did as a football player, which none of Gerrard or Lampard could do. He went from being an attacking midfielder to a central midfielder to a holding single pivot DM, and bossed all three of those roles. Who gives a shit that he didn't get put into the team of the year? I don't care. Do you know what? He don't care. And that's for me. I just don't get that argument at all. You have to look at goals, yes, outputs, yes, 100%. Because everyone knows what I think of Mo Salah. I think he's the most efficient inside forward in Premier League history, probably outside of Cristiano Ronaldo. But the whole player award thing, it's a madness to me. It's a real madness. It's a real madness.
I do get that. And a question I just wanted to ask the pro Hazard lot. So I didn't catch your name in the bottom left corner. What do you think Hazard is better at than Salah? Sort of in terms
I think Salah's just a better goal scorer. But apart from that, Eden Hazard's better at everything else.
So you think he's a better creator?
Better creator, just better player all round, straight up.
Complete
different. But as in, give me some categories that you think he's better at.
What I just said it. Salah's only a better goal scorer. Hazard is better in every other department. He's a better player.
I mean, creative-wise, statistically, he's not.
What do you mean?
I mean, statistically, if you look at big chances created, Salah creates more than Hazard per game.
Didn't I just
numbers?
Hang on. I get it. I get numbers. But how can someone be a better creator if they don't create as many big chances? It's not me going, I'm a better goal scorer than Hazard, and I've never scored a Premier League goal.
Because Hazard,
you can't do that.
Because Hazard's dependent on other people to finish the chances, to finish the half chances that he
with Higuain and Morata. What are you talking about?
I agree with that. Will create his own chances and finish them off himself. Where Eden Hazard, he'll create a half chance and try to pass it off. Where Salah is more of a selfish player and he'll try to take it on himself, take on more chances himself. And I think from that's why he gets more numbers. That's why he gets more statistics. But I just want to take back 1 second, bro. You guys were talking about Sleepy G and all this stuff and making fun of things. But Eden Hazard literally down tools for a whole season. He literally threw away a whole
season in 7 years ago.
No. Okay.
Salah has been there for 4 years in one of the best teams in the league, one of the best teams in the world.
You can say one season, but he also lacked consistency. He was never this guy who statistically was consistent throughout his whole time at Chelsea. You could never say he was the main guy consistently performing every single season for that whole time. Where
Salah had the most man of the matches.
Okay, yeah, he's had more man of the matches.
Since 2010.
But how
Since
many more games?
2010.
No. Let me finish, and then you'll go. Okay. How many more games has he played than him? How many more times has he played for him? There's a reason why he's had that. But my main thing is, in Mo Salah's time that he's been, in the short time period, in the short window that he's been at Liverpool, he has statistically surpassed him. He has had more man of the match performances in that short time period in his career in comparison to what Eden Hazard has done in his early time period. He's impacted his team as an individual from day dot to now. I get that he was at Chelsea and he got pushed out of Chelsea, but now that he's at Liverpool, you can't look back at the player that was at Chelsea and hold it against him. You have to look at what he was at Liverpool and what he had at Liverpool.
Quick question. How old was Salah when he came to Liverpool?
I don't know off the top of my head.
25, I think. 25. 24, 25.
He came to the Premier League in his fully in his prime, right?
No. All the statistics, all the statistics any of us have used have taken into consideration his time at Chelsea, because you can't be selective.
What?
You can't be
No.
selective.
What are you talking about? I didn't hear Sam or Yigal talk about his time at Chelsea. I'm just hearing his time at Liverpool.
Every statistic I've used, I have looked at his time at Chelsea as well as his time at Liverpool, and I genuinely think that's one of the main reasons you guys are so anti-Salah in this debate, is because you let him go for nothing.
No one's anti-Salah. I've mentioned 3-4 times that Salah is an incredible player and his output is outstanding. Goals, assists, is insane. And I'm not against him in any way. He just isn't a better player than Hazard in any
guys,
way.
I want to be very clear on something, so we might be going off track here. A lot of people saying it isn't a question. No one's asking here who the better player is. The question is whose legacy in English football is bigger or going to be better. To hear here says every debate is anti-Liverpool. There's no anti-Liverpool agenda here. Like Liverpool the only thing that's
there is a slight one for me. I can't lie. There's a slight
I get that. Like individuals, but the only thing that's like anti-Liverpool, I suppose, and again, listen, it's all fun and games here. There's no animosity between anybody in this room. Like it's fun, so people calm down a bit watching. My only issue is, and the one thing I would say about what I've heard tonight is I've heard moving of the goalpost. When we were talking earlier about different players and the Gerrard thing came up, I do feel like the individual awards thing is then I get the point of Scholes has barely any compared to Gerrard having lots of individual awards nominated against him, and there's this differential. I feel like that's a bit of a straw man argument to say Gerrard was better than Paul Scholes based on those things, based on what we know about Paul Scholes as the individual man that he was, the quiet, unassuming man, didn't put himself forward for anything, etc. But it's not anti-Liverpool. Ironically, although I'm throwing a lot of curveballs Liverpool's way, everyone knows that if I had the choice between picking peak Hazard or peak Salah for my team, I would pick Mo Salah. Like I would. I've said it on so many streams. I wouldn't move just because I'm an outputs person. I'm an outputs and I'm an efficiency person. Plus, I think Mo Salah would be fit more. I do worry about the man boobs. That, do you know what I mean? It does worry me with man like Hazard. Do you know what I mean?
Later on, though. That's a Real Madrid.
That is more Real Madrid. That is more Real Madrid, to be fair, with his help with the gut. So there's no anti-Liverpool agenda here. I've got a few super chats and I'm going to Stro. I've got one from Robbie Singh. I don't want it to drop off my page. Where's it gone? Robbie, where's it gone? Oh, I missed it. But Robbie here says, Hussim, he says, respect for you and your views. Sorry for the curveball, but what is this Thiago being better than prime Paul Scholes on Twitter all about? Great debate, guys. Really enjoying the points. No one has said today that Thiago is better than Paul Scholes today. That's not a real thing. That's being made up, right?
I did not say.
No, I've seen it.
I've seen it. It's better. I did not say. No. Literally, I'll answer this in one sentence. I just said who's better at their prime. That's it. So that's it. It's not that crazy. Terry is a better defender in the Premier League than Van Dijk. But if I said prime Van Dijk versus prime Terry, it becomes a different conversation. So
why don't you use Gerrard? Who is better in their prime, Thiago or Gerrard?
No, but they played a different role.
They're both midfielders.
Yeah, I get that argument. I'd still take prime Gerrard over
because prime Paul Scholes was an attacking midfielder.
To be honest, he would take prime Gerrard over anyone.
Prime Gerrard in 08-09 was once again same logic, was out of 6 nominees for Player of the Year, 5 of them were United. He was the only non-United one, and he made the World 11 that season and had amazing output as well. So
this guy is using stats horrendously. Hazard's SH played more. Played. There we go. Yeah, has played more in a worse team, which is why Mo looks better. Creative wise, Hazard one playmaker. Wasn't one playmaker twice?
Got the most assists.
Is that what it means? Right. I didn't know that was. Is that what it's been called?
I get the argument, and I get the argument about playing in a worse team. So, for example, assists are very hard to compare because if Mohamed Salah is setting the ball up to Sadio Mane, that's different to setting the ball up to I don't know, Loic Remy or whoever you're playing up front with. But that's why big chances created. Salah has created more, as in he, as an individual, has created the chances, irrespective of if the person he passes to puts the ball into the back of the net. So that doesn't matter.
Sorry, can I just ask? You see this big chance created?
Yeah.
Is that assists or is it a bit more than that?
No. So for example, it is so it's basically chances where I've given you the ball and you've either scored or you've missed.
All right. So ultimately,
let me classify a big chance created is when it's viewed as being easier to score than miss. It's like clear cut that you should be scoring.
But it's if I've got a big chance created, it's because I passed the ball to whoever had the big chance. Yeah.
Yes.
So this goes back to when I was talking about David Silva, and I don't want this to become about City at all. But one of my big issues with how for many years a lot of people downplayed David Silva is he was the pass before the pass, which often gets underrated. Now that is how, and I'm not backing anyone on this. I'm just saying when you talk big chances created, David Silva would play a pass that would split a whole defence for Sane or Sterling to run on, tap it across for Aguero to put in. Yeah. Silva gets no ratings for that. It's other people. So that might be why Salah's output looks better. Might be why Salah's output looks better than Hazard's. Maybe.
I believe,
just throwing it out there.
I may be wrong. That's classified as a big chance. I may be wrong.
Okay, then fair enough.
So don't quote me on that. But I think it is where you've effectively created a big chance out.
Yeah, I hear that. I had a super chat I missed. Sorry, here. This is from Stone, who says one thing that Hazard has is his playing style in terms of memorabilia. Hazard is a rare breed with the way he dribbles through defenses. That's very true. Highlight really.
Yeah. That's the big thing in this. It's whether you value output more, or, for lack of a better word, eye test. Do you like what you see more? Because Mo Salah is an output
stream. We're not Strictly Come Dancing. Who cares what you look like? It's what you do with the ball, whether you put it in the back of the net.
But guys,
or you facilitate someone. I don't get. Hang on. You ask any footballer, do you want to look good on the ball or score and create? They will all say score and create. No one goes, oh, you know why I'm going to buy that Eden Hazard? Because he looks beautiful when he dribbles with the ball. This whole eye test versus output, it's like comparing apples and oranges. What is the point?
Guys, there's a really good comment here. Sorry, there's a really good comment here before we do the tiering. It says, remember there was a debate amongst Liverpool fans of who was the better out of Salah and Mane. There was never a debate whether Chelsea was Hazard was Chelsea's best player.
Or the best player in the Prem. Or the best player in the Prem.
He's never the best player in the Prem. Stop.
He was the best Premier League player in the last decade,
and no one. Terry, with that comment, there was always a debate about whether Scholes was the best Man United player.
It was the season Chelsea won the league, I could argue Kante was the better player in the team. So there was an argument. So him saying there was no argument is cap.
Listen to what I said again.
There is an argument.
Wait. Listen to what I said again. When Hazard was in the Premier League, there was no debate on him being the best player in the Prem. Someone might have a better statistical season or whatever. It's just like in the NBA. Everyone knows LeBron James has been the best player in the NBA for years. Other players might win player of the year or blah, blah, but he's the best player in the NBA. When Hazard was here, he was the best player in the Premier League every season he was here. You could say maybe someone had a better statistical season or blah, blah, but it was evident and clear. Hazard was the best player in the Premier League.
So skills-wise and technical ability, Hazard was better, because there you've got a little bit of an argument because he's very good on the ball. He's got great vision. He can finish. He was one of the best players in the league. Purely based on ability.
Not one of. There was no. But Tom, I feel like people seem to forget when he was here. Even though, yes, what do you call it? Alexis Sanchez had a good season. Aguero had a good season. This and that. Now that Eden Hazard was here, No one was acting like anyone was better than him. Everyone straight up was saying he's the best player in the Prem.
Suarez was better.
I've got to be honest. I've never
That's
seen
mad.
anyone
That's mad.
say he was the best player in the Premier League for 8 years, other than you. You're the first person I've ever met.
Come on.
Guys, what I want to do, I want
Only
to
Chelsea fans were saying that for 8 years solid.
Yeah, guys, I
Only
want to go to
Chelsea fans
I want to
for
go
8
to
years
Stroh
solid.
before. Guys, I want to go to Stroh before we tier these guys before the end of the show. Stroh, what do you want to say, brother?
Number of things. One, some of the nonsense on here. At no point was Hazard the best player for 8 years. David Silva, Yaya Toure, the list goes on. He was one of the best players over them years, but every season is ridiculous to say. Number two, I've seen it from Liverpool fans and Chelsea fans. Whenever it comes to these kind of arguments, as we've already alluded to, goalposts get moved. The one thing I'm not going to allow, even though I'm a Liverpool fan, is the disrespect to Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes is one of the generational midfielders, one of the best midfielders I've ever seen on a football pitch. However, United fans would always pick Scholes. Chelsea fans will pick Lampard, and Liverpool fans will always pick Gerrard. That's never going to change, because what we seen Gerrard do in the squads that he was in was absolutely ridiculous. And then, like you said, Liverpool fans will then compare individual awards instead of overall stats, and then it gets twisted around, which is just weird. Like, at the end of the day, it's the three completely different types of midfielders. However, when you look at what Scholes did as a midfielder, I think it's absolutely crazy the fact that he moved all the way back. Gerrard did it and was influential. However, for me, I'm always going to pick Gerrard. For me, this argument's strange because I would always pick Salah over Hazard. Do I think Hazard was a phenomenal player during that time? Yeah. However, I've got a serious question right now. Monstar.
Yo.
Who are you picking, Mr. Steven Gerrard? Let's sing the Steven Gerrard song. Who are you picking, Gerrard or Lampard?
Why are you gonna do that to me, bro?
No. Because remember, Monstar, I've got clips of you being on the show. Wait. Hold on, big man. Hold on. I've got clips of when me, you, and everyone else was on the show. It was actually a Chelsea show, and you said you would take Gerrard over Lampard, and they
I'm not denying that.
The Chelsea show.
I've never denied that. If you know me or you watch me talk about Gerrard and Lampard, I've always said I prefer Gerrard. I've never lied about that.
So why did you come on here 10 minutes ago talking about stats, trying to argue Lampard over Gerrard? Stay consistent, brother. Stay consistent.
No. I was using their argument against them.
Stay consistent.
I was using their argument against them because they like to use goals and assists with Salah, but they don't want to use it with Gerrard and Lampard. I'm just using their argument against them. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so what's your argument that Hazard's better than Salah?
I think he's a much better player, straight up.
Right, okay, so in that time, the 8 years that you're claiming that Hazard was the best player in the Premier League, was there no better player than Hazard?
I don't think there was.
In his pomp,
no.
I
think Yaya Toure was great the season prior.
Unplayable.
I don't think
There's no one that could play him off the park.
Yes, he was great in the Prem, but better than Hazard, no, not better than Hazard.
Luis Suarez.
And also one thing I want to say as well, it's mad that Salah's not even the best player, or since Hazard has left, I don't think people have regarded Salah as the best player in the Prem. It's been Kevin De Bruyne. Do you get what I mean? So how are you comparing him to Hazard? Like
because no one's saying Hazard's one of the best in the Premier League for 8 years other than you.
Because he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great debate listening. We now need to tier these two players. Now, this is where there may be some agreements here. We do have a super chat from Claire here who has said, Terry, I'm a United fan, but why wasn't David Silva included in this? So the way this is operating is we're doing two players at a time in these debates, but we will be placing a number of Premier League legends over the course of the season onto this tier list to create our own kind of Hall of Fame legends, top 20, future Hall of Famers, underrated and overrated, and then players that are just unclassified. So the likes of David Silva will be included, Aguero's, etc. They're all going to be included on this over the course of the season, especially during international breaks when there's nothing to talk about. So we're definitely going to do more and more of these. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's like spaces, but controlled, is what I would say. But it's some control. You can see each other. So we're going to tier these guys now. As another super chat here as well, actually, that says if Lampard has better stats and a higher Ballon d'Or finish than Stevie G and more trophies, isn't Lampard better according to Hussim's logic?
No, he isn't. No, he isn't.
Based on what? Okay, but based on what? With more trophies, more nominees, and better stats, what else is there? Are you going to say eye test now?
Don't say legacy.
No.
Do not say legacy.
I first of all, I wasn't the guy who mentioned output for Salah Hazard. It was the other guy, my guy over here. I didn't mention it. I mentioned individual awards and individual awards as well. As a collective, Gerrard has more than Lampard. He's more recognized. I'm just gonna say one thing that is literally, this just drives me crazy. Gerrard does not even like this is not even, shouldn't be a debate, because the Champions League all-time 11, all-time by UEFA, not by me, next to Gerrard, next to Xavi and Iniesta in midfield, you see Steven Gerrard in the all-time 11. Ballon d'Or magazine made a dream team throughout history of football ever since it started. The only one nominated out of them three for the midfield position is Steven Gerrard. So individual awards as a collective.
I know it's in the magazine, brother. I know it's in the magazine, but I read in a magazine once that the Spice Girls were on par with the Beatles. So I don't take magazines too seriously, bro. Come on, magazines.
Wait, Terry. I'm pretty sure Zidane. People like Zidane. What's the German guy's name? Not Michael Ballack, the one before him. Mateus. They're not on that list. Are you going to tell me Gerrard is better than those guys that are not included in that list?
Who said Zidane isn't on the list? Zidane was nominated for the midfield position, and so was Lothar Matthäus. It wasn't just
are they on it?
Yes, they are. They were nominated for it, bro.
Nominated. Gerrard got in over them, right?
No. Gerrard was nominated.
Nominated.
Gerrard was in an all-time Champions League 11 or something like that.
UEFA. Yes. The Champions League 11. He is in the all-time Champions League 11.
So because he's in that, does that make him better than?
That's two different things, though. The Champions League 11, that's a different thing than the dream team they wanted to create ever since football started. There are two different things. They're not the same thing.
What I'm saying is he's in it over Zidane and Mateus. Does that make him a better
player?
No.
He's not in it. He's not in the team. He got nominated for the midfield position.
I'm talking about the Champions League 11.
Yes. He's in it. He's in it ahead of Zidane.
Yes. Does that make him better than Zidane?
Oh my God! How many times do I have to
explain? Are you not getting the argument?
No. My argument. I look at the players individually and not using team trophies. You can literally use anything against me except team trophies. What I don't like, me personally, is when you go like Gerrard never won the Premier League, blah blah blah. That does not apply in the way I compare players. I compare using the individual awards and eye test and output and everything. What I do not use categorically is team trophies. Team trophies for me personally should not be involved in the discussion at all, because it's just irrelevant to them as individuals.
You're the only football fan, and I know why you're doing that. That's so you can stay consistent in Gerrard arguments, 110%. But honestly, every single football person in the world, I'm not being rude because I like you. They would laugh at that argument. Every single football fan. Every single football player would look at you and go, what are you talking about? Because Gerrard would swap everything you're mentioning for trophies. You as a fan would swap that for trophies. And the reason that those players that have won more trophies and Gerrard won more trophies is because them and their teammates performed better individually within a system. That's the irony in what's being said here. But we're going to do the placements now. I've got some more super chats that keep coming in. It's amazing. Thank you for the donations. Hussim, humble request to clarify Thiago better than Scholes comment and asking to support Thiago. People are coming for you today, bro. You're growing. That's why people are coming for you. Whole bottom row are clowns.
Wow.
There you go, man.
Comments out. There's no echo chambers here. Hazard has more individual awards. Absolutely. Listen, I guarantee I'd love to ask Paul Scholes that question. I'd love to ask him, do you want more awards? Right, let's do the placements. Where are we placing Eden Hazard on this all-time Premier League list?
Legend
Hall
of Famer.
Hall of
Famer, no doubt. Sure. There's no doubt. Even Liverpool fans
can
agree with
for sure.
The reason why I say
can you just read out the tiers again? Sorry,
so far, Mo Salah's been great, but I feel like he hasn't done enough yet.
He hasn't been there long enough.
Yeah, he hasn't been there long enough to be on Hazard's level just yet.
I'm going to put both. I'd put both there. I think they're both.
You can only put one.
Yeah, I agree.
You can only put one, or can you put both?
You can only put
one.
Right.
In that case, yeah, Hazard.
Terry, you can't put both of them in the first category.
Oh,
no.
I'm putting Salah in future then, because Salah's still got another 5-6 years ahead of him. And
Yeah,
you can
agreed.
easily
would that be at
Henry
Liverpool?
level numbers.
Would
Terry,
that be at Liverpool?
Will it be at Liverpool?
Right. Can I ask you a
If
question?
it's in the Premier League, Mo Salah will reach Thierry Henry levels in terms of numbers, in terms of statistics, because he's not.
If he stays, if you give him
If he's-
500 bags a week.
That report was bogus.
How many golden boots did Salah won? How many golden boots did Salah won?
About Liverpool, they say is bogus. It's not bogus. It's not bogus.
Wait, hang on, what?
Tom, go ahead.
Bogus.
No, that report was rebuffed by sources that have clearly been briefed.
Hang on. Who's it been rebuffed by? James Pearce or Reddy? Which one of the two? Which Liverpool? Which
Ian
part
Doyle.
of communist Merseyside said it ain't true?
Ian Doyle.
Which communist Merseyside? Wow.
Ian Doyle.
Who said it?
Ian Doyle.
Ian Doyle. See, one of the men on the take. One of the men on the take. One of the men sucking in the farts from Mr. Henry. Oh, eat your ass so I can get the news. Mugs. Don't communist. I'm only joking, but now listen. Every time you get rejected for a player, it's no, we didn't get rejected. We walked away because of extortionate wage demands. We'll know what's coming out the mouths, bro. You know.
Okay.
100% Salah wants more money. 100%.
Oh,
yeah.
And
come on.
100%. I would not be surprised if he leaves because Liverpool are currently on the down, and you should not be surprised if he leaves.
Everybody knows that, guys. Everybody knows that. But let's get back to what we're doing here.
Yeah,
Can I see that the table, Terry? Because if you're filling in other great players, Eden Hazard does not deserve to be on the highest of the high with all the other great players in the Premier League's history.
Bro, we're just talking about these guys. What are you talking about?
Based on what Terry said, you're saying you're going to add more people. Based on that, he does not deserve to be on the high echelon speaking with the rest of the
Why not?
He does not have that name in the game. He does not have that clout in the Premier League. He was not actually the best player for throughout that period. You're forgetting Luis Suarez played throughout that period. You're forgetting there was a season where Riyad Mahrez was playing better than him.
Whoa.
Wait. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Everyone chill.
Bro, this is ridiculous.
Let me finish my point.
Everyone chill.
Yo, bro.
Wait, Igao. Wait, hold on. Let me just say this.
No, stop.
All right, go on.
You stop, okay? Listen to this. First thing first, Mo Salah, his first season in the Premier League was better than him, okay? When you talk about players of the season, players that did everything, yes, he did well. But don't forget, he had Conte, he had Diego Costa putting in goals and putting in man-of-the-match performances in the midfield from Conte.
Season.
Don't forget when Leicester won the league, Eden Hazard was missing and he was fighting and having situations with his club. I'll give him 14, 15. 14-15 was one season where you can say, you know what? He's at the top of the league that year. But after that, before that, guess what? Luis Suarez was there, banging in goals for 2 seasons. Banging in goals. And before that, before Luis Suarez, who was there? Yaya Toure, damaging the league, destroying the league. So when you talk about 8 years where Eden Hazard was dominant, I only see one.
I agree with that.
Listen to what you wait. Hold on. Hold on. Number one. Wait, guys. Number one. I don't know what you were seeing, bro. Wait. Let me just finish. No. He had multiple good seasons, but he had one great season, innit? But hold on.
Wait. Hold up. Suarez had one great season.
Yes.
Yaya Toure had one great season. Clarify that, please.
Hang on. Suarez
No.
Suarez had the best individual season of a player in Premier League history.
That's not what? Because the Liverpool fan said it.
That's not.
Because the Liverpool fan said it.
The front door.
Terry,
what did he win? What did he win in that season?
Hang on.
What did he win in that season?
Terry,
What did that little racist win? What did he win?
Hang on. Terry, let
down. Best season.
No. Let me put my point across. In my opinion, Luis Suarez, based on performances, had the best individual season of anyone in Premier League.
The season where he didn't? Hang on, whoa, guys. The season where he barely scored against anyone else in the top 6, where he didn't win anything. That season you're talking about.
Terry, the season where he missed the first 7 games, won the Golden Boot.
Right.
5 games, sorry.
So that would
win.
That's better than the season where Cristiano Ronaldo scores 44 or 42 goals, I think, in all competitions, wins the Premier League, wins the Champions League, is pivotal in all those victories, and goes on to win the Ballon d'Or. It's better than that season.
In terms of the Premier League, yeah, 100%.
He didn't win the Prem. You know what? I like this guy next to me. This guy is one of the realest Liverpool fans I've met for a while, you know, because he's sitting listening to everyone and actually disagreeing about certain things, which is just refreshing, man. Like, it's not always your club.
Oh, no, it's not always my club. And I will be the first to say that Liverpool, for the majority of my lifetime, have been utter dross. But Luis Suarez, in my view, that 12-13 season had the best.
This is typical. Like, not all Liverpool. I'm getting an echo from someone again. I'm not too sure it's coming from, but this is typical Liverpool fans here. Like the typical ones. Like, you want to just again, it's we're just going to celebrate not winning. We're going to discount not winning trophies. Not winning trophies is a thing. And then when it comes to you guys winning a trophy, it's like we're the greatest team ever because we won it with all these record points. It's like. It's crazy. I remember Liverpool fans phoning up radio stations when they came second with 97 points saying we should get a special trophy made because no one's ever done that before. Honestly, it's insanity.
Terry,
insanity.
Terry, if you talk about radio stations like that, people phone up from every club and talk.
Bro, you're doing it right now.
Wait, no. I'm genuinely.
Wait, what's your name? What's your name?
My name's Louis.
So can I ask you? Would you, if they gave you an opportunity, you're giving Luis Suarez a season, and you're giving Ronaldo season, what one are you taking?
Hang on, as in I get a player for a season?
No. Say you could be one of them in that season. Who are you going to be?
Oh, 1,000,000% Ronaldo. Like a million.
So you're acknowledging that Ronaldo's season is better?
No, I'm acknowledging that he won more in that season.
No, it's not. It's not one.
No. You asked me who I would rather have been.
Go on.
I'll tell you. I would rather have been Ronaldo because I won the Ballon d'Or. I was recognized for being that. I won the Champions League. I won the Premier League. I'm not gonna sit here and say that trophies don't matter. Of course they do. I would rather be that player. But if you ask me, who did I think had the better individual performances in that season? I'm gonna go Suarez, hands down.
Oh, that's an L.
Do you know what you're doing again there? You're discounting clutch. And when I say Liverpool fans, I'm not talking all because Callum, Drifty, man like Stro here, Tom. I've got a lot of Liverpool fans on Terrace that don't do this, but a little bit, bro. You don't like trophies, which is weird.
That's the L.
But I'm not surprised. 30 years without any major league titles. I suppose it does that to you. But I even think about it. Like, I look at the Invincible season. 03. Sorry, it was the Invincible season for
0304.
0304. Was that the Invincible? Yeah, 0304. Yeah. Where Thierry Henry scored 30 league goals, 39 in all competitions, one Heat team an Invincible trophy. That's up there as one of the greatest individual performing seasons in history. Winning a trophy at the end of it and seeing like Suarez that season, he scored some goals that will be remembered forever in the Prem. But when push came to shove at the end of the season to win the league, he didn't come up trumped. In the biggest games that season, his statistical outputs, because you're going by stats in the other areas, wasn't good enough. When it comes to the best players in the best season, it's what you do at those pivotal games. You know, you look at other sports, you know, you could have, the best knockout ratio. If you lose all your world championship fights and you get sparked out in the finals, you're not going to go down as one of the best boxers because in every other fight you're in, you're amazing. When it comes to basketball, what you do in them conference finals and the NBA finals, that matters more than everything you do in the rest of the season. Football, we should not suddenly rewrite football. What you do in finals, what you do at the business end, squeaky bum time of the season, discounting those moments.
Oh no, I agree.
But you are discounting it if winning the trophy at the end of it and you being hugely pivotal in that is suddenly being discounted as not important. I find that a madness. I find that a madness.
1,000,000%, and I genuinely think that you have to look at both. You have to look at players like. But it's obviously brought up with Harry Kane, as in I think he is up there with Lewandowski as the best striker in the world. In terms of clutch moments, he's produced nothing. I just think that you can't discount those clutch moments. You can't take everything to be those clutch moments.
But you can when you and Hussam have said at times tonight, when it comes to talking players, I don't want to speak about trophies.
Okay, I've never said that.
Well, you haven't disagreed with him, so you're sitting there in silence. That was very deafening. And the point is, and that's what I'm saying here. For me, that not wanting to include trophies, and again, we spoke about this an hour and 20 minutes ago. We're not talking about Jonathan Greenings that have got Champions League winning trophies. We're not talking about Luke Chadwicks and Andersons that have these trophies. We're talking about the creme de la creme players in these legacy arguments, some of you Liverpool fans, even in the comments, have said trophies don't matter in these conversations. But players like Paul Scholes were pivotal in winning leagues, scored in FA Cup finals, massive Champions League semi-finals, hugely pivotal. Like, to discount that and say that doesn't matter is a madness to me. I just think it is.
I've never said that.
You didn't disagree with the argument. So
can I just say one thing about legacy? Terry, one thing about legacy you have to remember.
I do have to go because I have a stream in a minute. So thank you.
No worries.
One thing about legacy that everyone's forgetting is the actual legacy that player leaves for their nation, for the Premier League, for the club that they're at. Mo Salah, for the club that he's at, he's going to be up there as top goal scorers, single season goal scorers, and for his nation and a continent of Africa, he's going to be known as one of the best African players, one of the best Egyptian players to ever come out, one of the best Arab players in history. Marketability, one of the most marketable players in this game right now after Messi and Ronaldo and these guys is Mo Salah. And based on that, he will always be remembered. I'm not only talking about statistics and everything. These things have to also be factored in. I'm not just hating on Eden Hazard. I'm talking about...
you know what? Do you know what's mad, right, bro? Someone here says, don't control people. Who's being controlled? I'm just giving an opinion. There's nothing... I actually agree that Mo Salah's got an amazing legacy. I'm not even bothered about who gets the biggest legacy. I'm talking about logic. I'm talking about discounting winning trophies purely because you want to put Gerrard in the best midfielder in Premier League era. It goes against everything that sport is about. It just does. There's no way without winning trophies, Harry Kane will ever be seen as the greatest striker in Premier League history, even if he scores 200, 300, 400 goals. You think about everything when it comes to like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. The number of goals they score are only remembered because of the trophies that have been connected to them. It's crazy. Steven Gerrard's most famous moments in Liverpool shirts have been when you won the trophies with him. It wasn't the seasons where you did fuck all. And then you're saying you can't talk about trophies when it comes to legacy. I don't get it. Listen, we have ranked everybody here. That's where it's going to end up. Hazard's been put into a Hall of Famer. Salah
down, Terry.
1 second, bro. 1 second. He's been put there. I'll give you 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody wants to super chat in and change anything around, get that done. That's where the panel have placed these individuals. I know.
Nice try, Igal.
Igal don't want him there, but Igal, you ain't got the power to move it. Down to the audience, bro. It's down to the audience, my brother. Fergie tried to sign Gerrard when he had Scholes because Gerrard was brilliant. No one's saying.
And this is the thing.
Do you know what's happened tonight on this debate, though, for an hour and 40 minutes? Everybody keeps going into who the better player was. We're talking legacy.
You know what? The thing is, right now, remember when Neville did that piece on Sky Sports and was talking about, as a United fan, how all he wants to do is put down Liverpool and City? Right now, you've got a City fan and a Liverpool fan next to me, and we're actually saying people need to stop disrespecting Paul Scholes, because for me, when someone disrespects Paul Scholes, I kind of question how much they understand football, honestly. Paul Scholes was an absolute genius that controlled the game. Simple and short.
Terry, this is legacy. It's not about best player. And when you look at Hazard, for someone that's been there, I said multiple times, 6, 7 years, 8 years, he's one bad season. The rest, he's been there, including winning Premier Leagues, winning Carabao Cups, FA Cups, individual trophies. Salah in a weak team, may I add. And Liverpool, Salah has been in a great Liverpool team for only 4 years.
Can we stop with this weak team?
We're not going to go back over old ground here. Zones here says, Terry, you want logic here, but when it comes to Messi and Ronaldo, then it doesn't matter. Well, of course it matters, but my logic with Messi and Ronaldo is very, very clear. What puts Ronaldo above him for me is what he's achieved in multiple leagues. As an example, I think what he has done creates a legacy which is above and beyond any other player that I've come across. And if he comes back to England and delivers here again, it's astounding. It's legacy is more than just the numbers. It's more than the eye test. It's how and what and why. It's a story. It's the memorable factor. And, the thing about Gerrard is Gerrard has an amazing legacy because Gerrard has scored goals and had standout moments, clutch moments that will resonate and live on in football forever. That's part of legacy. Cristiano Ronaldo, if he returns to Man United and scores 20 goals and we win a Premier League, that's going to be remembered more than nearly anything that Messi can do at PSG this season. Legacy, about remembering these things. And that's what I would say about the logic behind what I'm saying. Sorry, guys, I've got some super chats to do here before we end. I don't want to miss anybody's because people obviously donate to the channel. It means a great deal. to us here. Hazard made Salah hold bench at Chelsea.
Oh,
Hazard
hang on. De Bruyne was on the bench at Chelsea. Okay, it's more an indictment of Chelsea's.
So, guys, I need to do these super chats and do these movements here. Salah was a class player. Hazard was class. Hazard has been moved down with this super chat here from Brad at this moment in time. There is 2 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. We've already had that super chat here. I need to get through these. They're coming through thick and fast. Suarez, 31 goals, 17 assists, no pens, missed 5 games. Kane done this, Terry. Terry will wet himself. No, again, you're confusing legacy. You're confusing legacy, and you're also confusing greatest ever individual season. I've never made a claim once that Harry Kane has had the best individual football season of a striker in the Prem. You're never going to get me on that. Chelsea fans stepping up. Hazard moved back into Hall of Fame. That now means it's going to cost you.
Florida.
It's going to cost you £15 to get Hazard out of there. Liverpool fans are so deluded. The aim of the game is to win trophies. What you win is your legacy. Hazard all the way down. So it can't go all the way down, but that's going to cost £10 to get him out of where he is right now. There is a minute to go. Would Omri put down on the list because of his final record? I think that's something that goes against Henry if you're going to have a debate about legacy. Yeah, have a debate about it. But he's done so many other things. He's still got an amazing... It depends who you're comparing him against. But he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Everyone answers Xavi or Scholes is what Cynthia says. I checked Google. A lot of football websites mentioned Suarez in the 2013-14 season, the best in the Premier League. I am shocked myself. It's down to them. Oh, we have another super chat here. What's happened? Put Hazard in overrated. He's been moved into overrated, and there's 30 seconds left to go. He's in overrated. He's been put into overrated. Rapstar says, just put my guy Salah in legend. Leave him there. Now, Rapstar had £90 in the pot from last night. So Hazard's been put into legend. It's going to cost £120 if you want Hazard out. And you've
10 seconds left.
Seconds to go. 10 seconds remaining, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to the end here.
Rapstar is sat there silently, all sharp, waiting for this.
There's 8. There's 7. There is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is it. That is it. Right at the 11th hour. Right at the 11th hour. Sun Min Hun's son is better than Hazard. Where's that one come from? Hazard. Chelsea fans don't normally get done on here, and they did right there. Who stepped up and did that? It was a Spurs fan. It was a Spurs fan who did it. It was a Spurs fan who came in and did it at the 11th hour. They're right at the death. Right at the death. And listen, as we say, super chats, all a little bit of fun, all donations to keep the football terrace going. So thank you very, very much indeed. All fun and game, just people that are enjoying themselves. I do see some comments from some weird people, but you know what? If you don't like the terrace, you can.
Terry, can I just quickly ask this question?
Yeah.
This whole Salah legacy thing, right? Given the story of Liverpool not winning the league for 30 years, given what that means and what he contributed to that season, does that not automatically mean he's got a bigger legacy than Salah because Liverpool's a bigger club?
I don't think it does.
Say that again for me, just so I understand what you said.
So because Liverpool haven't won the league for 30 years, and you were talking about Ronaldo and the story and stuff like that, so you look at Liverpool not winning the league for 30 years, what it meant, the history behind it, all the failed attempts, and then we finally get the league after 30 years. Salah's the top goal scorer. That would surely go down in people's history more than what Hazard did in the 7-8 years that he was there, because Liverpool's a bigger club.
It's true. You know what? Unfortunately, however much I hate it, it's true. Factually, it's true. Because as a City fan, I could scream so many players should have a bigger legacy than they have as a City fan. But we're a small club, right? So, unfortunately, it's true, because a player that plays for a bigger, more recognised club will always have a bigger legacy if they do something big.
I think you're bang on there. I fight a lot actually for City players in terms of their remembrance and what people think about them and stuff, because you don't have as many fans nationally or internationally that prop you up, if that makes sense. So you very rarely get the David Silvas and the Agueros. If Aguero had achieved what he did in the Prem for Liverpool, for Chelsea, or for Man United, I actually think the powers that be, and this is what I mean by popularity contest, would have put him potentially next to or maybe even above Thierry Henry. I think they would have pushed that narrative in this era to elevate.
His goal per games ratio is better than Henry's.
Yeah, and also what you found is there was a much bigger push from the media to elevate Liverpool's title-winning team to greatest team ever than there was for the Centurions, which I found very strange. But why? It's because there is a much bigger body of Liverpool fans that they want to attract to the conversation. My dad used to say this to me back in the 90s when I used to moan. I used to get really upset as a kid. How can we win the treble but not have a player winning player of the year? And my dad was like, because they want to spread the awards out, keep everybody interested. Because Man United youngsters won't realize what it was like. Anyone that grew up in my age remembered Liverpool dominating and then Man United dominating, and every now and then another team popped up and won something. But it wasn't like it is now, where almost every year, in the last 12 years, like only one team's retained the title once. Like, we're not used to it. Man United went through like 10-year periods where they won like 7 of the titles. So my dad used to just say, they've got to keep everyone interested. You got to throw a bone here to this club and that club and keep fans interested. If the end of the year, like Man United were the best team in the league, Prem, from 99 until like 2002. But we often still only had 3 players in team of the year, 4 players in team of the year. But we walked the leagues in some of those seasons. But yet, like, the voting was, we'll throw in a goalie from this club and I will give the left back to this guy. And I never trusted any of it. I always felt that it was like, how can we finish like you think about a league where a team like the City finished 30 points in front of everyone, but yet like there's 7 players in it from other clubs. It's like, how does that even make sense? It just doesn't. Yeah. But it's because you've got to keep everybody interested. Do you know what I mean? But there we go. A few people in the comments, and the integrity of this debate is lost. Bruv, if you don't like it,
disagree.
Bit of fun, bruv. It's just football fans having a chat. We're not Sky Sports here. We're not trying to be Sky Sports. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of fun. What I will do, though, I'm doing you a favor. I'll click on your profile and block you from the terrace. We don't want to make your eyes be subjected to this type of talk. There you go, bro. You're nice and blocked. Go enjoy something else.
Just so you know, that statement you made about Henry and Aguero is incorrect. I just looked it up.
Fair enough. It must have ended. Going into the last season, it was that. But fair enough. If it changed, then cool.
I do generally agree with the point that I think if Aguero played for, I don't want to say a bigger club, because but a club that like
a bigger club, you can say it's fine. I won't take offense.
I generally think he would be recognised as one of the best strikers of our generation, without question.
Do you know one of the easiest ways of putting it is that Arsenal will be spoke about of having this huge legacy, but if you look at it, City have won 5 Premier Leagues. In Arsenal's golden era, they won 3. So, but
it's true. It's true.
But don't get like Arsenal will always be put like guys more successful.
And we're going to do more of these debates later on. A couple more this week with a few of the players you mentioned, and then in the next international break. But there is something else. I don't want to debate it tonight. I want to throw this in there. I'm making this as a statement rather than a comment, though. If Ronaldo comes back to the Prem and does well, scores a lot, and wins Premier League titles over the next 2 years, I think because of how good he is a player and what he's achieved in both spells, if he achieves that, he goes above Thierry Henry as the greatest player ever in the Premier League. Because he's the greatest player to ever play in the Premier League, because of no one's won the amount of Ballon d'Ors, trophies and goals as him. So he is the best player ever here. But legitimately, if he comes in and say he wins a Prem and a Champions League and scores another 40-odd goals in the next 2 seasons, he overtakes Thierry Henry as the greatest ever Premier League player for me.
He only needs to win one major honor with you guys, and recency bias will push him ahead of Henry.
But he already won. Didn't he win? Didn't he already win more with Man United than Henry did with Arsenal?
Yes.
Wrong in saying that.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. The only reason why they're saying Henry is better is because obviously Henry played longer in it at Arsenal than what's his name? Cristiano did at Man United. But we all know like Cristiano Ronaldo's a better player, like, and he has a bigger.
The other thing is, you have to look at what Liverpool fan next to me said earlier about the size of the club. Look, United have not won a trophy for how long now, Terry?
Well, we haven't won a major trophy since 2013. So
right. So if Ronaldo comes back, right, and is that catalyst that gets you winning trophies again, hands down, he has to go above on you, because that's all you're missing.
With that manager, though.
No,
I agree with you.
I agree.
And do it with that manager, even more a fact.
Yeah, and I think to the point Stroh made, legacy. Coming back to a Man United team that by the end of the season, it will be 9 years without a major trophy, and winning it, the attention that gets. You know, it's like I said before, Liverpool winning the league up the first time in 30 years. The players, the pivotal players in that team, your Alissons, your Van Dijks, your Trents, Robbo's, Henderson's, as an example, the front three, they are, in my opinion, there's other than the Scousers that we've seen in the last 30 years, the Gerrards and the Jamies, and I understand Jamie Carragher's, I understand why they're held in a higher regard, because they are the people. They're from that area. People have an affinity with them. This current Liverpool team have done more than all the other teams in the last 30 years. Their legacy at Liverpool Football Club is far greater, but because it took 30 years to get to that point, it does elevate it more. There's that sense of achievement. And yeah, that's why I think if Ronaldo comes and does it, and I get your point about recency bias again, I don't even think it's recency bias. I think you'll start to look at it and go, if he ends up winning more Premier League trophies, a Champions League in his prem time, has an amazing goal scoring record, but comes back at 36 and delivers, I think it becomes a non-debate.
The only issue I've got with that is he didn't spend his prime in the Premier League, and I part of me thinks that makes it even better that he was able to achieve so much.
He spent the beginning of his prime in the Premier League.
I think if you ask the majority of fans, they'd say Ronaldo's prime was at Real.
His peak was at Real Madrid. Let's not lie.
His peak was there, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't here for like those last 2 seasons weren't his prime. They were still his prime.
I mean, listen, he was amazing in those last 2 seasons. I don't get it twisted. He was amazing. But if you were to ask anyone, Ronaldo's prime, it was his time at Real.
But then we go back to all the arguments that we've made tonight for like Salah. Like you guys spoke stats, you spoke like again Liverpool fans, and I did have a comment here saying, Terry, why do you take this Liverpool fans say, but not the same logic when it comes to, I do say Chelsea fans and Man United fans as generic comments at times, my brother. But maybe it's because you only tune in when I'm talking about Liverpool and you don't tune into, like a lot of my viewers, I'll tune into a Liverpool stream when they're Liverpool fans, but they don't stream into a Man United stream, so you don't hear it. Maybe that's what it is, Sean, one of my members there. But you guys use the logic tonight of stats, and you use the logic tonight of like individual player awards and all these things. If all those things stack up, then it's irrelevant of what age he was when he was here. It has to go back to your logic again of stats and
I agree.
Awards and that sort of thing.
I do agree with you. I just think that to say like he was maybe like part of me thinks it makes it even more like, I'm not sure which side of the fence I sit on it. Like part of me thinks it's even more impressive.
He's always going to have a better. I think as well. Ronaldo's always going to have a better. Or people are going to remember, I'll think he had a better legacy than Henry over here because his name holds that weight. Ronaldo's name holds weight that Henry's name doesn't even come close to. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
So his legacy is going to be
globally. Yeah. And I think, do you know what it comes down to? It's why in recent years, I think people have tried to like minimize and reduce what Ronaldo's achieved into just being a goal scorer. They tried to take away from how good he has been as a footballer in his career because people start to see what's coming. They start to see where he's going to be placed. And the fact he'd be more loved in England by other clubs if he hadn't have played for Man United. The last thing Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans and most Chelsea fans and City fans want is a player who played for Man United ever being regarded as the greatest ever Premier League player, the greatest ever player of all time. I don't want a Liverpool player to be regarded as that. So you look for those chinks in the armor that you can play him down on. And I expect if Ronaldo comes back and starts delivering goals, I expect to see from rival fans, it's goals, but actually he's not the most pivotal. They'll do whatever they can to try and put if we're amazing and we win the league and Ronaldo's amazing, you will see rival fans try and shift the focus onto a different player just to ensure that he never gets regarded as the greatest ever football player. And by the way, that's exactly what rival fans should do. That's your job as rivals. Do you know what I mean? To like downplay things. But listen, everyone who's tuned in tonight, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Do us a big favor before you leave. And that's actually a 2-hour stream. That is the longest debate show I've ever done. But amazing points raised by everyone tonight. Thank you to all of our donations and super chats. It means a great deal to us. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.